Chapter 601, Bird Trapped in a Cage 2. However, that person quickly disappears among the trees, making it impossible to determine who they are. Who is that? For some reason, I start feeling an intense curiosity about them. At that moment, Fan strokes his beard and speaks in a very glad tone. Oh, did Master see that just now? Just now, I believe I saw Lady Kim Yun in that mountain valley. Ha. So she was in this world within the painting. At those words, the three of us exchange glances. Without hesitation, we all immediately soar towards the mountain valley. I use Glass True Fire, while John Myung-hoon and Kim Young-hoon rely on the powers of fire and voice transmission they have obtained. Reaching the location where Kim Yun was sighted, I search for her. Just then, Agio, she's already moved all the way over there. Fan looks into the distance and points somewhere. At the spot he indicates, a woman clad in a light pink attire is walking in the distance. Hamjin Uy, stay here for a moment. I leave Hamjin and Uy behind and quickly begin pursuing her. Only a single crow clings to my shoulder, following along. Once again, we soar towards the mountain. But in an instant, Kim Yun disappears from the mountain, and Fan finds her again in the next mountain. We continue, frantically crossing valley after valley, chasing after Kim Yun. How many mountain valleys have we crossed like this? I suddenly notice something strange about the scenery. Kim Young-hoon and John Myung-hoon seem to have sensed it as well. Little by little, we are delving into the depths of the mountain valley. And the deeper we go, the more the surroundings begin to change. The contours of the world start to take on an ancient appearance. The outline of the mountains seems to overlap with something that looks like they've been painted over with ink, and the once three-dimensional world begins to flatten into a two-dimensional plane. Kim Young-hoon, seemingly understanding the nature of this phenomenon, widens his eyes. It is the phenomenon similar to when he once transcended dimensions through sheer speed. What is this? I'm flying at the speed of voice transmission. In other words, the speed of sound. But can something like this really happen at just this speed? See, could it be that we are regaining our abilities? John Myung-hoon looks at the doubtful Kim Young-hoon with eyes full of hope. But Kim Young-hoon, looking startled, widens his eyes further. No, this isn't happening because we got faster. Then, Kim Yun, who is leading us forward ahead of us. She is accelerating us. What? John Myung-hoon furrows his brows in confusion. But I can feel it. Unlike the others, I still retain a portion of Glass True Fire and the Impermanence Sword. I can roughly feel it through the Impermanence Sword. Kim Yun's will is binding us and dragging us along. Where are you taking us? How far are you leading us? Yana. The world gradually transforms into the form of a painting, and we find ourselves flying over an enormous drawing. Then, all of a sudden, we feel the paper, the painting, is drawn on rippling. Yana? Each time Kim Yun steps forward ahead of us in the distance, the force of her movement causes the paper to ripple. That force, in a way, could be called attraction force. Then, at the exact moment when the rippling of the paper reaches a certain threshold, pat it, Kim Yun pierces straight through one of the curved surfaces of the rippling paper. Eowit. Wait, let's go together. The part she pierced through vanishes in an instant. But the rippling remains, and for some reason, I feel like I understand how she broke through the painting. Everyone, gather the power of this world that you have trained. John Myung-hoon and Kim Young-hoon seem to understand me immediately, gathering flame and the power of sound into their hands. I gather the power of soap bubbles, and the moment the rippling surface of the painting blocks our path, we unleash the power of this world just as Kim Yun did. The next moment, the force we release disperses in the form of ink. The ink that forms this world. That ink seeps into the surface of the painting, causing it to fade, and at a certain moment, the painting melts away under the ink we have released. It's now? Let's go. Fan, using his immense strength, pushes us into the melted opening while leaping in himself. Flash. With that, we arrive in a new world. In other words, the reverse side of this Liberation Peach Garden Village. Heek. Who? John Myung-hoon collapses onto the ground, gasping for breath, while Kim Young-hoon steadies his breathing. I scan the surroundings. This place is, laughably enough, this is the exact spot where we first departed from. Nothing is different. The only noticeable change is that everything in the world appears slightly hazy. But even that vanishes if I focus my mind, making me wonder if there's simply something wrong with my vision. Kim Yun is nowhere to be seen. Fan, did you see Kim Yun? Master. For now, you should look over there instead. He points somewhere. Before we realize it, we are surrounded. I didn't sense them. Wait, these people. The figures encircling us in this hazy world all emit a presence similar to our own. Like us, they possess the presence of those who have become characters in this world. And beyond that presence, I can faintly sense cosmic authority and overwhelming power. That's right, these people are Junior crystal glass being. Without a doubt, they are true immortals trapped in this world. Greet the seniors. Welcome to the backside of the painting. In this world, the front of the painting, Liberation Supreme Deity Bong Myong's immortal art, Liberation Peach Garden Village, can be freely observed. Here, if we use the power we gained from Liberation Peach Garden Village, we can even influence it to some extent. We have been watching you all this time. A true immortal wrapped in bandages all over their body looks at me with dead eyes and greets me with a forced smile. I am Make Jean, a great net immortal affiliated with Radiance Hall, formerly one of the 33 heavenly resplendent treasure immortals, and once a candidate for Radiance Hall's envoy of the final age of Dharma. I do not know exactly what an envoy of the final age of Dharma is, but considering that the purple gold heavenly lord Hyuk Am's title in Radiance Hall was the fallen guiding envoy of the final age of Dharma, it seems that Make Jean was at least a candidate for an immortal lord. You must be a distinguished one. Not since I got trapped here. They let out a faint chuckle with a gloomy expression. Looking at their face, I asked, may I ask why such a promising figure like yourself is trapped in this world? You seem to have already guessed judging by your eyes. Do I really need to say it myself? Kukik. But Make Jean eventually explains kindly despite their gloomy expression. When Bong Myong was still a heavenly lord, I had a brief encounter with them. At the time, a monster known as the Vast Cold Heavenly Lord was attempting to annihilate Radiance Hall, and I was in the midst of fleeing. That bastard made me an offer to hide me within their peach garden painting for about 100 years. Needing those 100 years, I hurriedly stepped inside to take refuge, and to avoid being discovered by the Vast Cold Heavenly Lord, I took on the role assigned by this world. As their words continue, not only my face but also those of John Myong-hoon and Kim Young-hoon hardened. And on the day the 100 years were up, I asked Bong Myong to let me out, but their hands tremble violently. No answer ever came. On top of that, everything I accumulated as a great net immortal, my immortal arts, prophecies, the power of my immortal treasures. Ho. I could not use any of it. Make Jean stares at me with eyes full of despair. I was reduced to nothing more than a mere spirit wandering this world. And in that time, I discovered and entered this backside. It has been 500,000 years since I came here. 500,000 years have passed. No matter what I did, I could never regain my authority. And a couple tens of thousands of years ago, I heard from some newcomers who arrived. Bong Myong has become a supreme deity? Drip. They shed tears of blood. Seeing those blood tears, I feel my sinking feeling in my chest. That is not my story. I see. But now that was the moment I understood. I will never be freed from this place. We have become eternal characters in this painting. Their body tremble. I too tremble. We have become trapped in this world. I had suspected it ever since I realized neither attraction force, prophecy, nor revision could be used. Even since Kim Young-hoon's Brahma nature, the pure enlightenment he accumulated became restricted, it became clear. This world operates under entirely different rules from the outside. We are merely being gradually consumed by this world as we conform to those rules. Far more terrifying and powerful than even the creation of a small heavenly domain once displayed by the 33 heavenly resplendent treasure immortals. That is the immortal art of Bong Myong. Uguguguk. I try to exert attraction force. Just like before, I try to crush and burst the world with my will. It is impossible. The world, which once seemed like it would squish and burst so easily, has now become an unbreakable prison. I understand why it has become so solid. Karma. In this world, I have accumulated the karma of a human soap merchant. Over 100 years, that karma has gradually solidified and thickened, eventually trapping me. The same goes for John Myong-hoon and Kim Young-hoon. Kim Young-hoon can't draw forth the enlightenment of the Brahman nature and martial arts that he once realized because of the same reason. This prison was built by our own hands. Because we created it with our own hands, we even lost the power we accumulated. As we realize this and sink into despair, Make Jean speaks while watching us. At some point, didn't you notice that the immortal treasures and subordinates you brought here simply turned into fools that fit this world's perception? The crow that's attached to you. That was probably your immortal treasure, right? Didn't that crow stop speaking at some point? Indeed, at some point, Yeoy became nothing more than a foolish, lust-driven crow that could only caw. Unlike an ordinary crow, she has no lifespan limit. But she is now just a crow that can neither speak nor use spells. The same goes for Golden Shaking Bird. Golden Shaking Bird turned into nothing more than a hummingbird that likes to perch on John Myong-hoon's shoulder. Ham Jean and Uy are no different. At some point, they simply become servants following me around. They can't recall their past memories. That's right. Not just me, but every being that enters this world eventually becomes characters of this world and taxidermized. Within this painting, within this story, taxidermized ourselves with our own hands. This is a true supreme deity-level immortal art. The power of the Liberation Supreme Deity Bong Mayong. We are Liberation Peach Garden Village. Nothing more than birds trapped in Bong Mayong's cage. Only then do I deeply realize from whom the Mad Lord's one-pattern law talent originated from. Just as the Mad Lord made countless beings live together within his wonderfully mysterious fortress, Bong Mayong has made countless true immortals live within their Liberation Peach Garden Village. I thought they felt familiar from the start and trusted too much. The Liberation Supreme Deity Bong Mayong is a madman with an abyss far deeper than even the Mad Lord. Chapter 602, Bird Trapped in a Cage, 3. Kadoo-da-duck. I clench my fist. I will leave. Ha ha ha. How great would it be if that was possible? Did you not hear what I said? Make Jean looks at me with gloomy eyes and speaks. We are trapped here. Unless Bong Mayong lets us out, we can never leave. I have never given up until the end. What? Bubble, bubble, bubble. In one hand, I hold soap bubbles. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. In the other, I ignite glass true fire. I see the true immortals simultaneously recoil in shock. No matter how many times, how many thousands of times. Even when deja vu took hold and this world tried to impose its influence on me, I did not let go. Even as all my memories blurred and the truths I believed in all this time collapsed, I did not let go. Even when the world forced lies upon me and sought to erase my very existence, I did not let go. Make Jean speaks in a trembling voice. This is absurd. I remember roughly what realm you were at when you entered. You were definitely an upper immortal. Seeing as you lacked winged garments, you must have been an earth upper immortal. On top of that, you hadn't even properly received an immortal crown. At best, you were a mere fledgling who had just stepped into the realm of an earth upper immortal. Somehow, it sounds as if they cannot accept it. It is a supreme deity's immortal art. The one who borrowed the power of the underworld as a heavenly lord was Bong Mayong. Because they wielded the underworld's power, they were already at the level of a supreme deity, even in their days as a heavenly lord. After becoming a supreme deity, though they may no longer have been able to draw upon the underworld's power, the degree of completion of their immortal art must have become even more perfected. Make Jean lets out a roar, their voice shrieking like a scream. Are you trying to say that you, a mere earth immortal, have defied the will of a supreme deity head-on? I am not an earth immortal. Kugagugagoo. Resplendently brilliant morning light begins to shine around Make Jean. In an instant, they turn into a black cloud. Transformed into a massive black cloud, they press down on me with their entire being. Kuguguguk. We have both trained our powers in the same Liberation Peach Garden Village. But is it because Make Jean has 500,000 years of training? The pressure emanating from them is incomparable to mine. They are the storm itself. I, on the other hand, have only trained the mere power of soap. Soap of all things. I am not soap either. Bubble, bubble, bubble. I look at the soap bubbles rising from my body. Then, I blow them away. Once, I certainly had the thought of wanting to dominate the world with soap. My first life, back in the 0th cycle, when I went senile just before death. Back then, even soap had been taken from me, leaving me with nothing. It left a wound too deep for me to bear. But looking back now, the soap bubbles sprouting from my body have dissipated before I knew it. I wanted to make soap. I never wanted to become soap itself. I completely suppressed the bubbles rising from my body. They are no longer necessary. Soap is undoubtedly my karma, my authority, and what I have built up, but it is not who I am. Soap can never be myself. It was certainly a precious dream, but I am me. Even if dreaming of soap became a part of me, I am not soap. I am made of everything I have encountered in my life. Wereruruk. Glass true fire bursts forth. Then, its form gradually becomes transparent, until it turns completely formless. Qualong. I shake off the formless glass true fire and shout. I am me. With a tremendous explosion, the colorless and formless flames pierce straight through Make Jin's black cloud, deflecting them away. Kahik. As they return to their human form, Make Jean lets out a dry cough and glares at me. They close their eyes. I have no choice but to acknowledge it. You are remarkable. Make Jean, looking strangely enraged, roughly tears away the bandages covering their face. Beneath them is the face of a rather handsome man. You have one. I will not bother you any longer. Rather, with you and that person together, you could complete the plan several 100 million times faster than I could. With an expression that somehow conveys a sense of defeat, he looks at me and speaks. I envy you, Seo Eunhyun, to be loved by someone like that. Then, I realize that he is not looking at me. What he is looking at is, treat Kim Yun well. That one talked about you all day long. As if that wasn't enough, she confidently declared that you would show a far greater miracle than her when you come here. In the end, she was forced to the point of even wagering herself. But without a moment's hesitation, she bet that You would be greater than her. Sarek. I widened my eyes at the arms gently embracing me from behind. The bet is my loss. I had wagered that you were nothing but a bug, but hoo-hoo. It turns out only bugs could be seen from the eyes of a bug. I will hand over the stakes I had placed. Make Jean rises from his place and bows deeply before me. I, Make Jean, candidate for the envoy of the final age of Dharma under Radiance Hall, along with the Flying Immortal Alliance under my command, pledge our allegiance to you until we leave Liberation Peach Garden Village. Following Make Jean, all the true immortals who had surrounded us bow towards me and the arms wrapped around me. I nod, accepting their bows, and speak. Please, give us a moment alone. As you command. Make Jean and those who appear to be his subordinates from the Flying Immortal Alliance vanish in an instant. I gently place my hand over the arms wrapped around me. Truly, long time no see, Yun. I turn around and embrace Yun, whom I am meeting again after more than 10 million years. Hey, Seo Eun-hyun. It is John Myung-hoon. He strokes the wooden box in his chest and looks at us with weary eyes. A somewhat bitter smile forms at the corners of his lips. That's not the time to be saying, long time no see, you dumbass. Say I missed you properly. It's not like you don't know what kind of feelings she had before your true immortal advancement. Yeah, thanks, John Myung-hoon. I hold Kim Yun even tighter and speak. John Myung-hoon looks up at the sky, and Kim Young-hoon, too, wears a face filled with yearning. I missed you. She still cannot speak, but I can feel Kim Yun holding me and exerting strength in her finger. It is an immortal art. A powerful immortal art is being displayed from her. Kuga-guga-gugu. A gigantic force, so immense it feels infinite, gathers at her fingertip. It is to the point that if it were not her holding me, I would have doubted whether she is trying to kill me. The power condensed at her fingertip is in no way inferior to the sword-guided star rain of the sword's spear Heavenly Lord. I realized that she awakened to her own fate and discovered her true strength. And this is a fragment of it. Just as I, in Liberation Peach Garden Village, did not let go of the power I accumulated, allowing me to retain a part of the impermanence sword. She, too, even after falling into this place, never let go of this power. My impermanence sword is my entire life. However, what she refuses to let go is a far smaller and narrower concept than what I grasp. Jiung, if I am trying not to forget all phenomena, Wanzhong. She is trying not to let go of a single thought, Yin-yang. I can feel a single portion of the world's force being pushed back by the power gathered at her fingertip. The will of the Liberation Supreme Deity recedes by a portion. At the same time, I sense that one of the restrictions covering Kim Yun, unable to withstand that terrifying power, briefly breaks. Sururuk, with the very fingertip that gathered the overwhelming force and pierced through part of her own restriction. She gently traces my back. I feel her touch. Her movements form a character. Me. I realize what she is trying to convey and hold her even tighter. 2. I missed you. The single thought that wishes to express that small will is a heart she could never let go of. Cocking. After conveying that brief will, the power of the restriction covering her once again engulfs her. It lasts only a fleeting moment, but it is enough. Yana. It's been 10 million years. In that dark and empty space-time of High and Mu, I endured 10 million years. Though loyal subordinates and connections more than I deserve sustained me. As I embrace her tightly, I understand. Tianghua. I chose to carve myself away to build a mountain. And the sharper I became through carving myself, it became clear. A sharp blade can never stand alone. I still love you. She appears before my eyes. Now that I think about it, I was able to endure the immortal art of the Liberation Supreme Deity because she was reflected in Hong Fan's sheen. But here, this child endured a Supreme Deity's immortal art while thinking of me. Even if she borrowed the power of fate, even if she was born with the talent of infinity, she persevered with her own will, thinking of me. The love I received from you. Book, Tianghua is dead. Even if that heart still lives within me, she is already gone. That is why I will carry on that heart. Everything I received from her was a blessing. The blessing that I can no longer return to her. I will share it with others and pass it forward. I will continue to share it, and remember, I do not want to lose anything anymore. I do not want to stand alone anymore. It is a selfish, greedy, and self-indulgent thought. But I need a support now. The moment I realize that someone wished to see me again, I feel my legs give out. Ah, damn it. This isn't how it should be. Tears begin to fall. Tremble. Holding her tightly. Leaning on her, I begin to cry in silence. Crying my heart out should be something I do after everything is over. That is what I swore in front of you, Hao Te. But once the tears begin to flow, they do not stop. I hold her close and speak. Thank you for wanting to see me. And as I embrace her, I come to understand that I am far lonelier than I thought. Like that. For the first time in endless years, I sob in her arms. Not as the true immortal Seo Eun-hyun, but as the human Seo Eun-hyun. Thank you, John Myung-hoon. John Myung-hoon does not respond. He merely strokes one side of his chest with a sunken face. Ask Kim Yun if she knows a way out. I think she said she did. What? How did you figure that out? Hong Fan told me. Oh, I see. I nod and ask Kim Yun. Yuna, do you perhaps have any clues on how to leave this immortal art world? Nod. She nods, and seeing that nod, Hong Fan speaks up. There is a way, but it seems we will need the help of those flying Immortal Alliance people and the great net immortal Make Jean. I see. Then let's head to them first. Before I can even finish my sentence, Make Jean reappears in an instant. You called. Oh, that was fast. What great net immortal would not notice when their name is spoken within the same world? I am not a great immortal yet, so I would not know. No need for formalities. From what I see, you are more than qualified to aim for the position of supreme deity. Speak casually. If you insist. Relax. If my way of speaking is burdensome, I can speak comfortably as well. Make Jean looks as if he has sorted out all his emotions regarding our brief exchange earlier. All right. If that's the case, I'll speak freely. It seems that if we want to leave this world, we will need the help of you and the Flying Immortal Alliance. Well, even if you call it help, we won't be doing much. Rather, it would be Kim Yun and you who can use a portion of immortal arts that will be doing most of the work. I see. By the way, didn't you say you've been talking with Kim Yun all this time? You also mentioned earlier that she talked about me, but how did you know that? Candidates for Envoy of the Final Age of Dharma are extremely sensitive when it comes to wisdom, let alone the Envoy of the Final Age of Dharma themselves. That's why figures like them, or those of a position above them, such as the Radiance 8 Immortals, can vaguely perceive even the will of beings who can't communicate. Well, in any case, the peculiar restriction placed on Kim Yun seems to have been directly imposed by the Liberation Supreme Deity, so it took me quite some time to interpret, and even then, my understanding is not entirely accurate. I see. Anyway, does that mean there is a way to escape? There is. Make Jean draws a picture in the air. First, there are a few things I've discovered while living in this world for the past 500,000 years. The drawing is a black snake biting its tail. The reason the symbol of Radiance Hall is specifically a black snake biting its tail, aside from it being the form of the Radiance Supreme Deity, is because this symbol intuitively represents fate. This represents fate. Yes, fate isn't necessarily circular, but it operates in the form of a snake biting its tail. Birth, aging, sickness, and death repeat endlessly, and the same events occur over and over again. That is true, and everything is fixed in place. Haven't you ever found it strange? Why do intelligent beings keep waging war, never learning from it, and continuously suffer, unable to break free from the bridle? Why do the ideologies of intelligent beings keep spinning in circles like a rotating wheel? Why do they never develop superior ideologies, develop greater skills, or advance their civilization, only repeating the same level of civilization over and over again? I recall the words of Yang Su-jin, that everything is aligned according to fate. It is fixed in place. So change never exceeds a certain level. So mortal beings cannot escape the bridle beyond a certain point. Even when superior ideologies, superior civilizations, or superior cultures are born, it is adjusted according to fate, just like a snake eating its own tail, regulated with just the right amount of change in fate. Fate locks the world in this manner. Sure, mortal beings may suffer a little, but this fate structure is incredibly stable, and that's why Mount Sumeru has remained intact to this day. A fate where all civilizations, ideologies, and cultural levels eternally repeat. It is literally a snake biting its tail. But let's consider a hypothesis. Suppose this snake possesses the ability to regenerate as much as it consumes and consume as much as it regenerates, and it has a nature that compels it to consume whatever is in front of it, causing it to eternally spin as it devours its own tail. He flicks his finger at the drawing of the snake biting its tail. Tuckwhack. What would happen if someone were to cut off the snake's tail or a part of its body? The part it was consuming would be cut off. Exactly. But here arises a problem. The snake has a nature that compels it to consume whatever is in front of it. However, what would happen if it is subjected to pain? A snake with a severed tail would trash around, and what is in front of it would no longer be its own tail. The symbol Make Jean has drawn begins to shift, forming a spiral. Wouldn't the snake's trajectory change? If that happens, instead of simply forming a circle, it would start moving as it pleases, drawing something as it pleases. Instead of staying fixed in one place, it would progress forward in any direction. As I watch the snake's movements, something familiar comes to mind. A spiraling yellow snake. The Salt Sea Supreme Deity. It is the symbol my master once showed me. This is the ideology of the Great Mountain Supreme Deity, who has relentlessly hindered the path of our Radiance Hall. It is the ideology that most of us call the way of salt and utterly despise. And it was also the ideology advocated by the vast cold heavenly lord 500,000 years ago. Make Jean watches the spiraling snake and continues his explanation. What is important is this. It may be despised by Radiance Hall, but it is an ideology that is very widespread. There are plenty of individuals, both inside and outside Radiance Hall, who abuse mortal beings to experiment with this ideology. It is also an ideology very deeply embedded in the underworld faction that opposes Radiance Hall. The Liberation Supreme Deity Bong Myong was originally the left arm of the Heavenly Venerable of the underworld, so they delved deep into this ideology as well. And the result is this world. Weren't the roles assigned to you pyromaniac, spy who sows discord between nations, and madman who turns people into soap? They were. Isn't there a pattern? They're all roles that bring harm to the inhabitants of this world. That's right. Make Jean nods and smiles grimly. Every single member of this flying immortal alliance. Even Kim Yun. All of us. We were all assigned roles that bring suffering, confusion, and chaos to this Liberation Peach Blossom Village. And even as we were consumed by our roles, we continued to drive this place further into disorder and destruction. We were predetermined to be characters who bring pain and chaos to this world. At that moment, I begin to grasp what Bong Myong is trying to do. Bong Myong. Could it be? That's right. By forcing us to endlessly inflict pain into this world, they are trying to evolve civilization. They are in the process of experimenting to sprout a new ideology and civilization never seen before in this world. If my thoughts are correct, once the seed of civilization's evolution takes root in this world, a natural path of escape will open up. So they are trying to achieve liberation that way, evolving civilization to break free from fate. Hong Fan, who has been listening to our conversation, interjects. Make Jean calmly nods. Yes, well, something like that. Hong Fan smirks. But it seems evolving civilization is not that easy. Considering how even the soap my master painstakingly created lost popularity the moment he turned it into a spirit. That's true. Kukik. Honestly, it is an utterly foolish idea. But Bong Myong truly seems to be a heavenly craftsman. Look at this. Make Jean turns his gaze to Kim Yun. Kim Yun blinks, then tenses her face. At that moment, a bird-shaped pattern emerges on her skin, an evidence of evolution that transcends civilization. The key to evolution invented by the Liberation Supreme Deity. It seems to be a type of mantra, and it boasts of terrifying capabilities. Hong Fan stares at the symbol on Kim Yun's face with transparent eyes. Right now, Kim Yun is demonstrating an unbelievable level of creativity through the power of that mantra embedded within her. And through that, she is currently in the process of modifying this world itself. From the moment the Liberation Supreme Deity completed the mantra within Kim Yun and placed her inside Liberation Peach Garden Village, no matter how many hundreds of millions of years it takes, the hope of escaping was born. It didn't matter if it took millions or even billions of years. The mere possibility of escape was created. Kim Yun nods. Then, she looks at me for a moment. Hong Fan sees the look in Kim Yun's eyes and speaks on her behalf. Lady Kim Yun wishes to show Master the world she is seeing. It seems she is asking you to take her hand. All right. I take Kim Yun's hand. And immediately after, I become able to share her vision. Clank, 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 clank. Countless mechanical devices. A labyrinth moving as if alive. It is like the body of some living being. Yet through the flow of this body, I understand that these things are a portion of the world Kim Yun is interpreting and modifying. Interpreting the world and guiding the flow of fate itself to permit evolution. All those countless mechanisms are threaded together by Kim Yun's single light pink consciousness thread. After she interprets the smallest part of the Supreme Deity's immortal art as her own mechanism, she modifies the dust-sized portion. For now, all she has managed to do is slightly twist the world's providence to accelerate me, Kim Young-hoon, and Jean Myung-hoon, so we could quickly access the backside. But if Kim Yun succeeds in fully interpreting and modifying this Liberation Peach Garden Village, it would be no different from shattering the fundamental structure of fate as asserted by Radiance Hall. So that's it. The scene I saw before was this. I once saw a vision through Hong Fan of Kim Yun navigating an endless labyrinth of mechanical devices. It seems she was in the midst of modifying this immortal art of Liberation Peach Garden Village into her own power and breaking through. Sururuk. After some time, Kim Yun lets go of my hand, and as my hand leaves hers, my vision returns to normal. It feels as if I have witnessed something truly magnificent. It's like she is creating something on par with the planes of fate, soul, and chi with her own hands. How was it, Master? Hong Fan asks for my thoughts, and I share what I saw and felt. He smiles faintly and says, "Then please wish for Lady Kim Yun's success." Don't worry, I was already planning to. So what exactly is the way out of here? Make Jean draws a circle in the air. Think of this circle as the immortal art of Liberation Peach Garden Village. Alright. Then, he places a dot within the circle. This dot is the part Kim Yun has currently modified and seized control of. Perhaps because he is also at the true immortal level, he draws the circle and places the dot with remarkable precision. The dot he places is no bigger than a small grain. In reality, it's even smaller than this. At this rate, in the worst-case scenario, it could take billions of years. That won't do. Even for us, hundreds of millions of years is a long time. At that rate, Bong Myong would be crushed to death by Guak Am long before Kim Yun finishes. But watch. Watching. As Make Jean clenches his fist, a crack runs through the circle drawn in the air. Quong. He shatters the circle. The part where the dot was placed splinters into fragments, and except for the fragments, the rest of the circle vanishes entirely. What Kim Yun is doing is placing dots on the circle like this. And if you fragment the world like this, the area she has to place dots on decreases significantly. Then, once she has fully seized control of a single fragment, she can trigger a small-scale evolution of civilization within it. If she can bring about evolution in even that way, if she can create the seed of evolution, then the path to escape will inevitably emerge. However, I look at the broken circle and ask, does breaking the circle mean destroying the world? Then choosing a fragment among the splintered world to obtain the seed of evolution within it. How great it would be if it were only that easy. Unfortunately, that's impossible. Woo-woo. Following Make Jin's will, the broken fragments of the circle begin to reconnect naturally. The moment there's even a scratch, it sticks back together. When you crossed over to the backside, you saw the hole in the dimension repairing itself, right? A powerful restorative force exists in this world. In the end, the fragments will always return to their original form. Make Jean brings the fragment with the dot on it back to the restored circle. This is where you and Kim Yun need to work together. And this is where we need to intervene. Even if we destroy the world, the Liberation Supreme Deities will restore it as if nothing ever happened. But what if we prevent it from reattaching? You're not perhaps saying that Kim Yun and I should work together to prevent it from reattaching, are you? That would be absurd. I am always brimming with confidence, but I have self-awareness. It's a Supreme Deity's immortal art. We can't even properly use immortal arts right now, so fighting against it is nearly impossible. Don't worry. I'm not asking you two to do something that unreasonable. All you two need to do is briefly hold out. No, since Kim Yun has to keep modifying the interior of the fragment, I should say you have to do it. If I hold out, will that actually accomplish anything? I doubt I can hold out for long. That will be enough. When the time comes, we will step in. You? What method is there that can stop the power of a Supreme Deity? I think for a moment before answering. Only another Supreme Deity's power. Exactly. He grins. If the will of the Liberation Supreme Deity maintains the restorative force, then we just need to borrow the power of another Supreme Deity. He draws a square over the circle. The square wedges itself between the fragments that are trying to reattach, blocking their restoration. Every member of the Flying Immortal Alliance gathered here. Some have spent hundreds of thousands of years, others tens of thousands, sharpening their blades in order to escape this world. And what we all have in common is that we each serve a Supreme Deity or a Heavenly Venerable. There are countless of us who revere governing immortals and Supreme Deities other than the Heavenly Venerable of the underworld, and many among us know how to borrow their power. There is hope. John Myong-hoon listens to his explanation and asks, can you summarize it neatly all at once? All right, I can break it down into 7 stages. First, if all of us, who have become spirits and sealed characters in this world, combine our strength, we can bring about the destruction of this Liberation Peach Garden Village world for at least a moment. Second, the destroyed world will begin to restore itself by the will of the Liberation Supreme Deity. Third, before the Peach Garden Village is completely restored, Seo Eun-hyun will use his immortal art to separate the area Kim Yun has taken control of from the rest of the world. Fourth, while Seo Eun-hyun holds on, we will use all our strength to send out calls for salvation to our respective Supreme Deities. Fifth, if any Supreme Deity shows us mercy and grants their power, we will use that power to fully separate the space Kim Yun has seized from the rest of this world. Sixth, Kim Yun will completely dominate that space and guide a small-scale evolution of civilization within it. Finally, through that seed of evolution, we will submit the answer that the world of the Peach Blossom Village seeks and escape. Make Jean explains everything clearly to John Myong-hoon, who clicks his tongue. What a flimsy plan. What part of it is flimsy? Isn't begging the Supreme Deities to save us the entire plan? If that's the case, why not just start begging here? If begging the Supreme Deities could save you, wouldn't the Supreme Deities you serve have pulled you out of here already? At John Myong-hoon's remark, Make Jin's face distorts for a moment. That is the only way. The only way to leave here without enduring billions of years, and leave a little faster. The only way. Co Unhyun. Is that really the best option? I have no answer. If I have about 10 million years, I have the confidence to develop an immortal art like sun shooting and escape. But if I say 10 million years, John Myung-hoon's eyes will probably flip, so I simply nod. As far as I know, this seems to be the fastest method. If we fail, we'll just keep praying, bowing, and performing rituals until we succeed. Is this really the best? When I don't respond, John Myung-hoon lets out a deep sigh and says, "You owe me for this. Don't forget it. Your half-baked plan that relies purely on luck and mercy, I'll make it succeed." John Myung-hoon steps forward towards the flying immortal alliance. This is truly disgusting, but there's no other choice. Then, clenching his teeth, he shuts his eyes and shouts, "Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deity, Dugon, I know you've been watching me this entire time. Isn't that right?" At John Myung-hoon's declaration, the true immortals of the Flying Immortal Alliance flinch in shock, and Meg-jin, too, shows a look of great surprise. Friendship with the Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deity? Damn it. Being from Radiance Hall, Meg-jin seems to have an ill connection with the Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deity. But it seems his desire to escape outweighs his ill connection with the Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deity, as he does not try to stop John Myung-hoon. "I will aid in your liberation. I will create an opening in the horse-ear heavenly domain. So, in return, get us out of here immediately." Cool room. Just then, a bolt of lightning suddenly strikes down from the clear sky of Liberation Peach Garden Village. The lightning directly hits Golden Shaking Bird, who had been resting on John Myung-hoon's shoulder. In an instant, Golden Shaking Bird shifts from the form of a hummingbird into something golden and writhing. For a moment, she seems to have become golden lightning itself. And from that sphere of golden lightning, a certain will resounds. Through that will, we understand what the Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deity is trying to convey. Direct extraction is impossible. However, as Meg-jin said, lending power temporarily is possible. Kururum. At the same time, thunder rumbles, and the voice of the Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deity resounds in both John Myung-hoon's and my mind. May you choose wisely. Only now do I fully grasp the situation. Even us, being trapped by Bong Myong's immortal art and seeking the Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deity. Even that had been a fate orchestrated by the Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deity, delivered to us in the form of wisdom. This is the power and prophecy of supreme deities. More precisely, it seems Bong Myong and Dugon have joined hands. Both Bong Myong and Dugon are merely using us as pawns to achieve something. That passing remark, that single phrase of, "May you choose wisely," became a prophecy, influencing our countless decisions and ultimately leading us to this moment. Realizing this, John Myung-hoon's eyes turn bloodshot. Truly, this world is a piece of shit. I bite down hard on my lip as well. Meg-jin watches us and speaks. "When Kim Yun fully takes control of this space, some of the strength and immortal arts of your main body should return. I will help you. So if you have any resentment, grow stronger. Whether it's the cultivation of the Radiance 10 Heavens or the cultivation of Upper Immortal, do it. The truth of this world is ultimately attraction force. If you have been toyed with through fate by a being with greater attraction force, then you simply need to attain an even greater mass and attraction force yourself. Grow and grow your attraction force until you reach the pinnacle. That is the only way you can claim even the slightest bit of freedom." John Myung-hoon nods heavily, and I take those words to heart. Hong Fan smiles faintly as he murmurs the word freedom, while Kim Yun and Kim Young-hoon nod with hardened expressions. Thus begins our plan to break free from the cage. Chapter 603, Bird Trapped in a Cage 4. The preparations to destroy Liberation Peach Garden Village do not take long. What takes longer is constructing the ritual to temporarily descent the authority of the Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deity onto John Myung-hoon's body. Since the greatest possible power must dwell within John Myung-hoon, some among the true immortals of the Flying Immortal Alliance who are knowledgeable about heavenly tribulations, as well as a few who have encountered Yang Su-jin, inscribe the ritual across various parts of John Myung-hoon's body using the blood of beasts. As I watch, I ask Meg-jin, "By the way, Meg-jin, aren't you affiliated with Radiance Hall?" "That's right. Then, aren't you helping with releasing the Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deity, whom the Radiance Hall sealed, since we made a contract? Is that really okay?" I suppose I'll earn some resentment from the Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deity once I leave. After all, I helped the Radiance 8 Immortals imprison them back then. Are you saying you helped annihilate the Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deities, Jade Pivot 48 Lightning Heavenly Great Immortals, and other forces? Then isn't this a much bigger issue than I thought? They wouldn't attack us the moment we free them, saying they are sealing us in return, right? But unexpectedly, Meg Jean just scoffs. Ridiculous. All I did back then was oversee the blockade of the bearing tree heavenly domain. My role was to monitor and prevent any of the prominent great immortals or true immortals who worship the heavenly punishment supreme deity from escaping. Even then, none of the heavenly punishment supreme deity's subordinates even attempted to flee. In the first place, his expression turned somewhat bitter. The true power of Radiance Hall is essentially the Radiance 8 immortals. They alone account for 6/10 of Radiance Hall's total strength. Back then, the other great immortals and the envoys of the final age of Dharma merely sealed off escape routes like I did. None of us directly participated in the war. The entire war was waged by the 8 members of the Radiance 8 immortals, who borrowed the Radiance Supreme Deity's profound wisdom to wipe out the Jade Pivot 48 Lightning Heavenly Great Immortals and the forces of the Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deity, before ultimately imprisoning them. I feel overwhelmed by the sheer power of the Radiance Hall that is more than I had imagined. Even Bong Myong, who doesn't feel stronger than the Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deity, is able to completely overpower and toy with us like this. But those 8 alone managed to subjugate the Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deity and their entire faction. The further I learn about the Radiance 8 immortals, the more I feel a creeping sense of dread. From the beginning, the sword-guided star rain unleashed by the sword spear Heavenly Lord that I witnessed at the end of my past life was a secret art terrifying enough to make my skin crawl. And that was from a distance. If they had used it up close, it might not have just torn apart a single heavenly domain. As I remember the sword spear Heavenly Lord, a chill spreads through my shoulders. Yang Ji Huang. I always thought I understood people's hearts fairly well. Such things are easy to see with the vision of the heart tribe after all. But, after accepting Kim Yun's heart, I began to see things I hadn't before. She loved me. Memories of our time together resurface. That brief period we spent in the head realm. I recall how she was dyed by emotions. This makes me feel a little guilty. I had removed her bandages, gazed at her face, taught her about emotions. And then, I irresponsibly died. I'm sorry, Yang Ji Huang. I recall Yang Ji Huang's unmasked face from my past life and offer a silent, heartfelt apology. Suddenly, a question comes to mind, and I ask Make Jean, by the way, do all members of your Radiance Hall wrap their transformation bodies in bandages? No. That only applies to the Radiance 8 immortals, who must not reveal their bare faces, physical characteristics, or true names. Then why did you do it? For a true immortal, the face is a means of communication. Covering the face means concealing one's true intentions. Unless it's a true immortal whose faces have been lost due to suffering too much pain, most interpret it that way. And I wanted to possess that one called Kim Yun. A fate similar to the vast cold heavenly lord, but with an entirely different nature. At the same time, unlike the vast cold heavenly lord, a heart directed towards only one being. I wanted that. But I felt so shameful for desiring such a thing that I covered my face for a while. Feeling puzzled, I ask, I can't forgive you for targeting Yun-I, but I do want to correct one thing. Desire isn't necessarily shameful. Desire is the source of all possibilities. Master must be tired. Allow me to massage your shoulders. Hong Fan, concerned that my shoulders might be sore, approaches to massage them. Ah, thank you, Hong Fan. You're really good at this. This is what it means to be alive. You could say life is essentially a massage. Ha 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 ha. If Master is pleased, then I am truly delighted as well. Good. Anyway, Make Jean, there's no need to be ashamed of your desires. While losing yourself to desire is a problem, as long as you don't let it consume you, it's fine. How strange. Radiance Hall considers desire to be the greatest of sins. We are taught that desire is evil. I believe that as well. Everything in the world has its own rightful place and fate. Desire is a heaven-defying attempt to overstep one's place and fate. It's best if it doesn't exist at all. Heaven-defying, huh? Then in the end, doesn't that mean you should accept your fate of being trapped in Bong Myong's immortal art? Make Jean lets out a subtle smile. In Radiance Hall, all desire is considered the most disgraceful of things. That is why I wrapped my face in bandages for a time to avoid revealing such disgraceful desire. However, there is one single desire that even Radiance Hall permits. A desire permitted by Radiance Hall? It is the desire for freedom. He finally answers the question I had asked earlier. You asked why, despite being part of Radiance Hall, I am helping in a plan to release the Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deity whom Radiance Hall sealed away, didn't you? This is the answer. Because it helps me become free. Freedom? There is a common misconception many have. But in truth, the ultimate value pursued by Radiance Hall is freedom. Make Jean sweeps her hand through her silver hair, shaking the strings of her silver Mingguan. Her silver dragon robe gleams with a silver-white light. Because freedom is our foremost value, we have always acted with everything on the line for its sake. Though this seems to come across as a misunderstanding to those outside Radiance Hall. Someone I know once told me that Radiance Hall places importance on the way of light, in which selection is determined by fate with a distinction of good and evil. If everything is filtered through selection, then what freedom exists in that? It's the opposite. The opposite. The ones who are selected are indeed not free, for that is the purpose of being selected. What do you mean? Sacrificing a chosen few, and having those few eradicate the great evils that torment and oppress mortal beings in order for the vast majority to be free. That is the truth behind the selection you speak of. I sit in silence with her for a while. If we follow the way of light, in the end, the overwhelming majority will become happy and free, as long as everyone properly follows us. Co Unhyun. What is it? When we leave this place, come to Radiance Hall. I will take you as my disciple. If you desire, I can also grant you a position as a candidate for the 33 heavenly resplendent treasure immortals or the envoy of the final age of Dharma. You were in a position more impressive than I thought, Make Jean. Why are you offering me this? You are a free person, but your freedom has no direction. Freedom needs a bridle to some extent. I simply don't want you to stray down the wrong path. I recall what Make Jean said. Are you talking about this snake biting its tail and the spiraling snake? Are you saying I'm dangerous because I don't bite my own tail? Huh. Are you worried I might go in the wrong direction? I appreciate your concern, Make Jean, but that won't happen. Why? How can you possibly think that unrestricted freedom isn't dangerous? Isn't freedom without any bridle or constraints chaos itself? I suddenly realized that my conversation with Make Jean has taken a rather philosophical and profound turn. How did it end up like this? I think it started when Hong Fan began massaging my shoulders. Well, to you, it might seem like chaos, but I do have my own kind of bridle. You have a bridle? What is it? If even one person worries about me like you did before, or wants to see me and thinks about me, then doesn't that become a bridle? A signpost guiding me toward a safe path? Thanks for worrying about me, Make Jean. But, judging from the way you speak, you seem like the kind of person who sacrifices yourself for others. That's fine and all, but Make Jean, if you're always thinking about everyone else, then who is thinking about you? Her silver hair trembles. Well, don't worry about it. Since you thought of me, I'll think of you from now on too. I smile faintly and continue speaking. Even if we become enemies after leaving this place, just as you worried about me, I will worry about you too. For that too is retribution. I swallow my last words and glance towards John Myung-hoon. Then, suddenly curious, I turn back to her. By the way, Make Jean, have you always had silver hair? What kind of nonsense is that? Make Jean rips off the bandages from his body and glares at me with a fierce expression. Hong Fan's massage comes to an end, and Make Jean is shaking his black hair. Now that I think about it, Make Jean has a male transformation form. I have no idea why I kept perceiving him as a woman. Was I possessed or something? For some reason, my shoulder aches as if stabbed by a sword. Quachajajijik. In the distance, an immense surge of lightning erupts from John Myung-hoon's body. Are you ready? Make Jean rises from his seat. The true immortals of the Flying Immortal Alliance all nod in unison. Co Unhyun, stand beside Kim Yun and prepare your immortal art. We will begin the plan. Kururum. Make Jin's body becomes a storm. The other true immortals of the Flying Immortal Alliance also begin transforming their bodies into spirits. With the spirit bodies obtained from Liberation Peach Garden Village, their bodies start to change. Now, let us break this world apart and prepare to leave. Kugagagugagu. Make Jin's body swells dramatically. Dozens of true immortals also expand their own unique forms. Smoke, lava, lightning, light, darkness, swamp, vines, curses, plagues, screams, pain, corrosion. Countless true immortals inflate the spirit bodies they obtained from this world and head east. It's beginning. I walk towards Kim Yun. Holding her hand firmly, I look towards the east. The eastern sea nation. The sky above it darkens, and with a thunderous explosion, the entire space where the sea nation exists is torn apart. The sea nation is annihilated. Kugagagugagu. From the east, countless spirit bodies emerge and move westward. The western square nation is eradicated. Kururum. The spirit bodies turn southward. The southern center nation is wiped out. Finally, the spirit bodies head north. At last, the circle nation is destroyed. The entire world is torn apart at the spatial level and is obliterated. Kajigajik. I unleash glass true fire, encircling the space where Kim Yun and I stand. Just then, Chwerarik. A colossal will descends upon the world, and in an instant, time seems to rewind as the world begins to restore itself. As beings who have become spirit bodies, there are no problems even if we kill the individual inhabitants of this world. They do not resurrect or anything of the sort. However, when the world itself is destroyed, it seems the annihilated inhabitants are revived all at once. Kururum. The space we stand in begins restoring itself to its original state. But I block the process using glass true fire. Gwa-wa-ah. Kuga-guga-gugu. An overwhelming will violently crushes my own. It is the will of the Liberation Supreme Deity. Among the Supreme Deities, they are the most recently enthroned and should be the weakest. Moreover, as a being who grew as a magic artifact craftsman, their combative willpower should not be that formidable. But the rank between a Supreme Deity and myself is immeasurable. Even a mere fragment of the Liberation Supreme Deities will make my entire body feel as though it is about to explode. I now understand just how gentle Hyen Mu was when dealing with Kim, Young-hoon, and I. If Hyen Mu had fully revealed her authority as a governing immortal, we would have been dismantled on the spot that day. We would have had no chance to resist. Kuga-guga-gugu. I muster every bit of my strength into resisting, directly facing against the restoration will of the Liberation Supreme Deity. Geojik, Geo-eok. My body begins to crack apart. Crazy. This is the backlash of blocking the will of a Supreme Deity. Just resisting the will is enough to put my life in danger. If I keep resisting, I might be annihilated. Even with my power sealed, I am an immortal beast. I am an Earth Upper Immortal. I have stepped onto the pathway of overseeing life and explosion, yet I instinctively feel that no trace of life will have any effect on this will. John Myung-hoon, hurry. And the time finally arrives. Kururum. All of heaven and earth begin to be engulfed by lightning. Kururum. From behind me, John Myung-hoon unleashes an overwhelming golden lightning. This isn't his lightning. His lightning is always a bright, vivid red. But this time, it is different. This light is a brilliant gold. I gaze at the being residing within John Myung-hoon's body. Having taken control of John Myung-hoon's body, he gives a deep, meaningful smile. Why you? Worry not. But Dugon only smiles, unfazed by my concern. For the promise shall be kept. Kwachijijik. The lightning forms a net. And that net separates this alternate space and me from the will of Liberation Peach Garden Village. You, too, shall honor your promise with this immortal. With those final words, Dugon's presence vanishes from John Myung-hoon's body. John Myung-hoon soon opens his eyes, gritting his teeth in a humiliated expression. Damn it, I can feel it inside. That bastard's trace is here. Damn it all. His face flushes red as he shouts. That bastard left a terminal inside me. As long as this remains, in the end, am I also just being played by that bastard? John Myung-hoon. At that very moment, Kigajijigik. It feels as if the world itself stops to a halt. Immediately after, in this space filled with golden lightning, a golden radiance far more brilliant than anything else bursts forth. Behind Kim Young-hoon, a golden pung is spreading its wings. For a brief moment, the space is no longer affected by the restorative force of Bong Myung, and Kim Yun has cancelled Bong Myung's immortal art within this place she has seized control of. I feel my immortal arts, prophecy, and the authority of revision awakening once more. Behind Kim Young-hoon, the symbol of Brahma nature emerges. However, it flickers out the moment it appears. Kyungnim, what are you? But in the next instant, clang. As soon as Kim Young-hoon sheathes his blade, a deep slash is carved across John Myung-hoon's chest. Kukuyul. At the same time, something golden that had wrapped around John Myung-hoon's body can be seen being severed. Kim Young-hoon, drenched in cold sweat, smiles. Don't worry, John Myung-hoon. I've severed the terminal of the Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deity. Despite bleeding, John Myung-hoon grins, and I, too, exhale a sigh of relief at the sight. The first half of the plan has succeeded. Now all that remains is for Kim Yun to completely seize and modify this space within a Tinjong radius centered on herself, and to propel the civilization of this world forward. Shiraririk. Within the space controlled by Kim Yun, make Jean and the true immortals of the Flying Immortal Alliance return. Kuga-guga-gugu. Unleashing proper cosmic power, they distort space with their own immortal arts. To Kim Yun, it registers as no larger than a wash basin. But for the living beings of this world, an entire space the size of a solar system forms in an instant. Ahahaha. This is it. This is what I'm talking about. This omnipotence. I wanted to reclaim this feeling of omnipotence. Make Jean and the divine spirits of the Flying Immortal Alliance soar through the modified, solar system-sized space with their immortal arts, savoring their little freedom. Now, it all depends on Kim Yun. I let out a faint sigh as I gaze at the wash basin-sized distorted space that appeared before Kim Yun. The originally estimated time of several 100 million years has now been reduced to mere hundreds of thousands of years. Please, let our plan succeed. I fervently hope for our plan to proceed safely until the very end. Earth Boundary Heavenly Domain. The palace of Bong Myung that stands at the very center. At the heart of that palace lies a throne of light composed of 7 colored light. and upon that throne sits the main body of Bong Mayong in the form of a bird of light, crowned with a Mianguan and clad in a dragon robe woven from light. Their arms take the form of massive wings of light. From the very center of the earth boundary heavenly domain, they exude a presence of solemnity, as though surveying not only the depths of the heavenly domain, but everything beyond it in a single glance. As they are sitting upon the throne, step, 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 someone approaches the throne where Bong Mayong is seated. Compared to the vastness of their wing, the approaching figure appears minuscule, barely the size of a single feather. This figure, wearing a silver-white mianguan and a silver-white mask, dressed in a silver-white dragon robe, is a heavenly lord. Radiance 8 Immortals. 5th seat. It is the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord. I regret that I could not properly receive an honored guest. Bong Mayong speaks with a tone of apology, yet the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord merely looks up at them as if showing no interest. During the Governing Immortal Assembly, the Distinguished One deceived all the Governing Immortals and Radiance Hall with mere tricks. You pretended to execute the Enders while secretly spiriting the real ones away. Is that not so? I have no idea what you mean. Why are you suddenly trying to frame me, Sword Spear? Frame? Then how does the Distinguished One explain that this immortal just witnessed it through the eyes of a great net immortal from Radiance Hall who was trapped within your immortal art, liberation? Invading my personal space? No matter our alliance, this is quite unpleasant. State your business. Very well. I will not speak in circles. Hand over the crystal glass being Seo Un-hyun and the other Enders. HM. Bong Mayong tilts their heads slightly before asking in return. Is this the profound wisdom of the Radiance Supreme Deity, or a threat from the 5th seat of the Radiance 8 Immortals, the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord? The meaning of this immortal is always connected to the profound wisdom of the Radiance Supreme Deity. Then why is it that the Radiance 8 Immortals, who have received the profound wisdom of Hyuk Sa, have not all come together? Because it was deemed unworthy of such a response. At those words, Bong Mayong's body quivers slightly as if amused. With each movement of their body, the entire earth boundary heavenly domain trembles. You must be mad. For you all, is eliminating the Enders not a more urgent matter than dealing with even Guak AM? And yet it was deemed unworthy? It seems your intellect is not functioning properly, so even your excuses are inadequate. Stretch. Bong Mayong's neck extends to an incredible length, reaching in front of the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord in an instant. Speak honestly. Have you come for the Enders, or have you come for Seo Un-hyun? O Sword Spear of this generation, who is corrupting from emotions and becoming broken. Words seem to be pointless. The Sword Spear Heavenly Lord meets Bong Mayong's eyes, their anger evident. You asked why all of the Radiance 8 Immortals did not come, liberation? Kugagugagugu. In the distant space above the earth boundary heavenly domain, a silver-white sword appears, and that silver-white sword is not alone. 248. The growing number of silver-white swords soon begins to densely fill an entire side of the earth boundary heavenly domain's universe. Ye firing. Behind the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord's head, the symbol of silver-white snake biting its tail emerges. Because against an opponent of your level, I alone am more than enough. Kurururum. The entire earth boundary heavenly domain surges violently. Bong Mayong rises from their seat. Their true form, composed of 7-colored light, ripples ominously and boils upward. I greeted you with the courtesy befitting an envoy of the Radiance Supreme Deity. But you are increasingly crossing the line, Sword Spear. Woo. The entire earth boundary heavenly domain hums, connecting with Bong Mayong. Countless star veins connect to Bong Mayong, drawing a strange pattern across the entire heavenly domain. It resembles something like a circuit. Even if it is you, this immortal is a supreme deity. Do not overstep and violate this immortal's limits. You are nothing more than a mere component of light. Flinch. The Sword Spear Heavenly Lord's body jerks at Bong Mayong's words. Then, words laced with fury burst forth from their lips. I am not a component. You have fallen, Sword Spear. Entangled with the Ender, you have gone utterly mad. If I were to deliver this sight of yours to the Rain-Dew Heavenly Lord, would this dispute not be over? This is the final warning. Spit out the Enders you have concealed in secret in order to use when desecrating Radiance Hall. Bong Mayong ignores the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord, only intensifying the absorption of the universe's star veins. The circuit of star veins covering the entire earth boundary heavenly domain burns brightly. Will you drink the punishment wine? O newly hatched supreme deity who has yet to pass 100,000 years since your enthronement. You are neither great mountain nor heavenly punishment. Responding to those words, the snake symbol behind the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord ignites with even greater intensity. You will not be able to endure this immortal's power. A bird that scorches heaven and earth spreads its wings, and a rain of swords that divides the cosmos begins to fall. The battle of imperial kings begins. Chapter 604, Bird Trapped in a Cage, 5. Whoa. The universe moves. The earth boundary heavenly domain is restoring its torn wounds, as if it were alive. This circuit, formed by star veins, is aiding in this restoration. However, Bong Myong, standing at the center of it all, looks somewhat uncomfortable. Kugugugugugu. The distant star cluster. There, trillions and quadrillions of silver-white sword lights are rotating. At their center, a resplendent, brilliant silver-white light is devouring the surroundings. Gradually, the power of the sword spear heavenly lord rises violently, as if about to crush the entirety of the earth boundary heavenly domain. Dangerous. Bong Myong looks up at the sky, letting out a silent sigh. Despite causing a commotion and recklessly fighting like this, the beings outside the heavenly domain are showing no concern. The fact that even the Radiance 8 immortals have no interest in Sword Spear taking action on their own means. Their gaze shifts beyond the heavenly domain. Something with an extremely faint presence can be felt. Bong Myong immediately understands. The Sword Spear Heavenly Lord has completely sealed off all light emanating from the Earth boundary heavenly domain. Currently, the Earth boundary heavenly domain is in a sealed state by the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord. They realize that the presence beyond the heavenly domain is a familiar one. It is the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord's winged garment. Sword Spear's winged garment is wrapping around Earth boundary, sealing it so that not even a single ray of light escapes. Since the light from this place cannot leak out, no one can know what is happening. So, is this what it means to be a god of war? However, they soon erase the discomfort from their expression. If we are sealed in, that has its own advantages. More importantly, if they are using their winged garment for something like this, then they won't be able to call for help when they are driven into a corner. Sword, Jan, Heaven can. The distant star cluster. There, having distanced themselves from Bong Myong, the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord begins using an immortal art. O God of War. Indeed, I may not be able to defeat you through sheer martial force. Annihilation, Mate, Advancement, Jing. The silver-white swords orbiting the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord all scatter at once. In one corner of the universe, a sword explosion erupts with the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord at its center. However, this is not merely a battle, but a match. I may be pushed back in combat, but I will not lose to a god of war who has lost their mind. The circuit of countless star veins channels power into Bong Myong, igniting the universe in a brilliant blaze. Are you going to cultivate according to the core principles of the Radiance 10 Heavens? Yeah. Jean Myonghun states that he will reach Upper Immortal and intends to cultivate the formula of the Radiance 10 Heavens. I feel a bit concerned, but for now, I decide to support him. In any case, my method is far too slow, so it wouldn't suit him. My cultivation method involves detonating the light of connections accumulated for 10 million years. But how could I recommend such a method to John Myonghun? That being said, I need to reach Heaven Upper Immortal as well. I contemplate how to approach the cultivation of the Radiance 10 Heavens. I think I heard there are also heterodox methods for the Radiance 10 Heavens. That heterodox method involves capturing 10 vestige liberation immortals, stripping them of their personalities and reducing them to fools, then extracting their spirits, leaving only their immortal bodies to serve as one's own sons. It's far too steeped in the nature of the devilish path. I can't use it. Still, spending another 10 million years just to reach Heaven Upper Immortal takes too long. For the Heaven Upper Immortal cultivation, do I just have to follow the Radiance 10 Heavens method? As I ponder this, I decide to ask one of the immortals of the Flying Immortal Alliance. They are someone who had once received teachings from Ghost Black Turtle. How does one continue heaven and earth dual cultivation even after becoming an immortal? Kururum, the true immortal, who looks as if a drop of ink became anthropomorphized, hears my question and makes a dumbfounded face before asking back. Why in the world are you trying to do such a thing? What do you mean, why? I just want to properly walk the path of a heaven immortal as well. Listen. As you know, the lifespan of true immortals is as long as they wish. Yet, do you not know why there are so few true immortals who practice heaven and earth dual cultivation, despite their practically eternal lifespan? I was actually curious about that. Heaven and earth dual cultivation itself is not particularly difficult. You simply need to slowly nurture a clone until it reaches vestige liberation immortal. After that, you can begin heaven and earth dual cultivation. The problem starts from there. They smirk and raise both hands, conjuring black liquid atop their palms. These two liquids were originally one, but now they are divided. So then, which one of the two is the main body? I immediately grasp what they are implying. Are you saying that once a clone is raised to the realm of a vestige liberation immortal, it becomes independent? No. That is not the problem. In fact, a clone does not become independent at the realm of a vestige liberation immortal. The issue begins the moment one starts heaven and earth dual cultivation. The moment one starts, as the paths diverge, the two split bodies of heaven upper immortal and earth upper immortal begin to develop drastically different dispositions. The earth immortal leans towards explosion and dynamic movement, while the heaven immortal leans towards attraction force and static movement. Over time, as their dispositions continue to diverge, there comes a moment when the heaven immortal and earth immortal separate into entirely different beings. Of course, it is still manageable up to this point. Are you saying there's a worst-case scenario? They smile faintly. At first, the two act as one. But then, at some point, their personalities change drastically. By the time they reach Great Net Immortal or an Immortal Lord, they start experiencing mental fragmentation, leading them to attempt to seize control of each other. That is why the vast majority of those who practice heaven and earth dual cultivation develop mental fragmentation. I never knew there was such a problem. Mental fragmentation, you say? Does that mean your personality splits into two? The best example would be this: the Great Mountain Supreme Deity and mountain-destroying demon ape. The Great Mountain Supreme Deity reached the realm of a supreme deity with the power of a heaven upper immortal, but for some reason, they also coveted the history pathway and created a clone, which later became mountain-destroying demon ape. Though I am old, I lack knowledge of the affairs of true immortals, so I listen with great interest. Mountain-destroying demon ape became a fully separated personality around the point they reached Earth Upper Immortal. They developed a character entirely different from the main body that is the Great Mountain Supreme Deity. They were amicable with most of the immortal beasts and had a much better temperament as well. That's, of course, any story where the Great Mountain Supreme Deity is the protagonist always ends in the same way. They finish the tale with a bitter expression. In the end, the fragmented personality that was mountain-destroying demon ape had their realm devoured by the Great Mountain Supreme Deity through the phenomena extinguishing mantra, becoming nothing more than a part of their corpse mountain blood sea. It is a conclusion very characteristic of the Great Mountain Supreme Deity. In any case, it's not just the Great Mountain Supreme Deity. Most practitioners of heaven and earth dual cultivation face a similar conclusion. The main body and the clone. The two fight to the end until one of them completely devours and exterminates the other. Even after consuming and erasing their counterpart, if they don't reach the level of the Great Mountain Supreme Deity, they eventually experience mental fragmentation again. To be honest, if you plan to start heaven and earth dual cultivation, I would strongly advise against it. Their words make me seriously contemplate. Raising heaven, earth, and martial arts together definitely seems like the best choice, though. At this rate, I won't even get to start on the heaven immortal system. There are too many drawbacks. The Radiance 10 Heavens leaves me uneasy, and the risk of personality fragmentation honestly does not sit well with me either. However, in the midst of these thoughts, a strange thought crosses my mind. Personality fragmentation? Two personalities forming. As I consider this drawback, I scratch my head. Was the personality splitting something dangerous? A hazy mist spreads around me. Then, a cacophony of voices fills my ears. It is the canvas of myriad forms and connections. The function of the canvas of myriad forms and connections is to create spiritual power clones that store my memories and act exactly as I remember. And because it recreates the figures of those in my memories so precisely, at this point, it is practically no different from another personality. Swaya, my canvas of myriad forms and connections surges around the colorless glass sword. From the center of the hazy mist, someone appears. Are you conflicted, me? That's right. What is there to be conflicted about? Haven't I always been a madman who splits my own personality to act out the figures in my memories? In the end, that is the true identity of the canvas of myriad forms and connections. Splitting my personality to continuously recreate the figures from my memories. In other words, the canvas of myriad forms and connections is essentially nothing more than a lump of my madness. For someone already steeped in madness to fear their personality fracturing a little more, how utterly ridiculous. What is there to fear? Begin. What I fear is something else. Facing myself, I speak. Radiance 10 Heavens. What I am most scared of in the end is losing my mind to the Radiance 10 Heavens. Then what will you do? Are you going to gather another 10 million years worth of light of connections again? Light. In the end, isn't light what I need? That's right. Then, if I gather enough light, won't I be able to become a heaven upper immortal even without the Radiance 10 Heavens? That's right. In that case, I grin. I will cultivate through the phenomena extinguishing mantra. Do you think it's possible? Instead of fixed stars, I will try to create my own new system of light through the phenomena extinguishing mantra. The thought that it would be impossible never even crosses my mind. The light of connections I interpreted and pushed forward for 10 million years had engraved itself into the world, elevating me to the realm of an earth upper immortal. Light is created through interpretation. The light that was created because I considered light to be connections and pushed forward with that interpretation was the light of that time. Then, it must be possible to create a system of light that belongs solely to me, because my very existence is proof of that. The me standing in front of me smiles as well. As expected, you are insane. That's who I am, isn't it? And so, from that day on, I begin cultivating the phenomena extinguishing mantra. I am not practicing compressing the entire world like before. There is only one thing I focus on. It is compressing the canvas of myriad forms and connections into a single point with the phenomena extinguishing mantra and then restoring it to its original state. The reason for compressing the canvas of myriad forms and connections is simple. The canvas of myriad forms and connections is another me. Thus, by repeatedly compressing the canvas of myriad forms and connections with the phenomena extinguishing mantra, it has the effect of essentially repeatedly compressing myself with the phenomena extinguishing mantra. This method greatly aids in deepening my understanding of the phenomena extinguishing mantra. It's best to personally experience what it feels like to be compressed into a single point with the phenomena extinguishing mantra. How can I dare to recklessly talk of compressing other things without having gone through it myself? If I want to fill the world with light and heat and compress it into a single point, shouldn't I first fill myself with light and heat and compress myself into a single point? And so, as I continue to compress and release another version of myself through the phenomena extinguishing mantra, I sense my consciousness within the canvas of myriad forms and connections undergo a strange phenomenon as it compresses into a single point. My consciousness is compressed into a single point, and when it is released, that power is something that could be called light. Let's keep compressing and releasing the canvas of myriad forms and connections. If I do so, I feel like I will gain a knack for handling this light. And so, as I continue repeating the phenomena extinguishing mantra to create my own light, 100 years pass. Through the knack of forming a single point with the phenomena extinguishing mantra and then exploding it to create light, I come to understand. This isn't merely light born from an explosion. This is a light that I literally have ownership over. Even though it is just a single, faint ray of light, I feel that I can manipulate it however I please in my grasp. This light is mine. Not even the Radiant's supreme deity, the one called the owner of all light in the world. Not even the Radiant's 8 immortals. I have the certainty that they cannot lay a hand on this light for some inexplicable reason. This is, yes, it feels like, the light from the salt-emitting light that I saw when I entered the Queen of Penglai Kingdom's secret chamber. Yes, just like the light of salt that belonged to my master, the Salt Sea Supreme Deity, this light is mine alone. That faint and mist-like light is truly fascinating. Using the authority of a true immortal, I hold the light in one space and continually condense it. Thus, I keep compressing and detonating the canvas of myriad forms and connections with the phenomena extinguishing mantra to create light. I claim the light that was created in this way as my own, accumulating it day by day. 800 more years pass. It has now been 1,000 years since I entered Liberation Peach Garden Village. Yun has yet to fully take control of the fragmented space of Liberation Peach Garden Village. Of course, she has nearly completed the process, but even after gaining control, leading civilization towards advancement and guiding its evolution is an entirely different matter, so it is a task with no clear end in sight. As a result of gathering strands of light one by one, the light I have collected has gradually grown, now forming a small cluster of light the size of a fingernail, floating in the void. Lately, I have been experimenting with this unique light I have created. I test whether it possesses any special properties, or whether it carries some new properties like Twilight True Energy. But the results have been disappointing. The light is simply light. Since it was created using the canvas of myriad forms and connections as raw material, it is merely a light that belongs solely to me. Beyond that, it holds no further meaning. Keithing. But if I were to create the equivalent of light from 10 fixed stars and cultivate the radiance 10 heavens with this light, it won't be easy. What worries me the most is the speed at which I can create light using the phenomena extinguishing mantra and the canvas of myriad forms and connections. It is far too slow. At this rate, wouldn't it be better to split my consciousness again for 10 million years and establish something like in Yun's family? It's when I am lost in concern. I suddenly see the light I created entering the canvas of myriad forms and connections and very naturally being absorbed by it. There have been times when the light was absorbed into the canvas of myriad forms and connections before, but back then, I didn't think much of it. But at this moment, another thought comes to me. It's dangerous, but if it succeeds, Keithying. After infusing the light I created into the canvas of myriad forms and connections, I activate the phenomena extinguishing mantra. The light-embedded canvas of myriad forms and connections compresses into a single point, then explodes. At that moment, Pythiot. Ha ha ha. I laughed brightly. Before, only a single strand of light was ever born. But after absorbing the light into the canvas of myriad forms and connections, compressing it with the phenomena extinguishing mantra, and triggering an explosion, the resulting number of light rays exceeds what I had originally infused. The light I had increased by 1/10. This is exciting. Though the process is slow, watching a light that belongs solely to me be created makes cultivation incredibly fun. At this point, I have been here for 1,000 years. I set a goal. Within 10,000 years, I will create enough light to rival a fixed star. Year 10,000. The year marks 10,000 years since Seo Eun-hyun entered the Earth Boundary Heavenly Domain. Kugugugugugu. The Earth Boundary Heavenly Domain. No. In the ruins that were once the Earth Boundary Heavenly Domain, the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord stands, gripping one of the Liberation Supreme Deity Bong Myong's wings in their hand, gazing off into the distance. Around them, the divine blood belonging to the Liberation Supreme Deity is splattered everywhere. In contrast, the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord bears only minor damage, just a slight tear at the hem of their robe. Bong Myong is gone. Yet, the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord trembles. Bong Myong. Do-do-do-do-do. The entire heavenly domain quakes at their roar. The Sword Spear Heavenly Lord, who existed in a 5-dimensional space, begins to descend in dimensionality. No, it is not just the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord. The entire Earth Boundary Heavenly Domain starts turning into a single drawing. Sensing their own dimension lowering, the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord transforms into a mortal form. Taking on the appearance of a human woman wearing a silver mask, wrapped in bandages from head to toe, she mutters while gripping a silver sword. Why do those from the underworld love scribbling so much? Such petty tricks. She steps forward in the world that is turning into a flat plane. Well, I suppose this works out. Entering Bong Myong's immortal art and pulling him out will be easier in this state. Maintaining a barely 3-dimensional figure within the flat world, she begins slicing through the world with her sword. Wait for me, Seo Eun-hyun. After killing the Liberation Supreme Deity, I will come for you. With Seo Eun-hyun's vestige and the weakening of the naming Supreme Deity's authority inside Bong Myong's immortal art, she has already pierced through the immortal title of Crystal Glass Being and pinpointed his location. Now, all that remains is to go and meet Seo Eun-hyun. She knows too that at some point, she started becoming strange. In one side of her chest, coldness, warmth, discomfort, and strange emotions are mixing and swirling together. He must have placed some strange Ender authority on me. She must find Seo Eun-hyun and have him remove whatever authority he placed upon her. For that reason alone, the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord carves her way through the flattening world, unaware that by facing Seo Eun-hyun directly, she will only become further entangled in that very authority and be unable to escape. Chapter 605, Crumbling Cage 1. Quadudaduk. With a strange sound, the fragment world becomes completely engulfed by Kim Yun's will. At the same time, countless mechanical devices attached to the fragment world fully melt into the world itself. Wawoom. Kim Yun's gaze can be felt from all directions. It is the same feeling as when entering another true immortal's body. No, it's even more than that. Her control over the space is far more overwhelming than that of ordinary true immortals. At this level, isn't it closer to the world control of an immortal lord? No, it seems to surpass even a great net immortal. At this level, within this world alone, Kim Yun could very well be called a god. As soon as the true immortals realize Kim Yun has taken control of the world, they cheer with jubilant cries and create a small stellar system within the temporarily formed space. Then, they adjust the temperature and environment of one of the orbiting planets to form a foundation where life can sprout. Before long, life is born and spirits settle into their bodies. That is, the souls of other beings from Liberation Peach Garden Village. Although this fragment world has been temporarily separated from Liberation Peach Garden Village by the power of the Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deity, it is still ultimately a world within Liberation Peach Garden Village. And because the inside of Liberation Peach Garden Village is not properly connected to the Western Heaven Flower Field, if we want to create life and implant spirits into them, we have no choice but to draw in the spirits of Liberation Peach Garden Village. Make Gene, pulling spirits from outside the fragment world in Liberation Peach Garden Village to reincarnate them here, continues explaining. Anyway, Kim Yun has taken control of this place and altered the rules of the world. Now, the seeds of civilization's evolution have been sown. We just need to birth life and watch them grow. You should also help bring life into existence. All right, I will. From that day forward, the members of the Flying Immortal Alliance and I settle on various planets within the Fragment World's stellar system, laying the groundwork for life to emerge. I shall create the sea. I will make oil spring forth from underground. I will establish the atmospheric environment. I'll be the one to bring down lightning. We each settle into different domains of the planet and begin harmonizing the world. What will you do? After thinking for a moment, I respond. I will make the sea salty. I decide to create salt and add a salty taste to the ocean. Since continuously using the phenomena extinguishing mantra accumulates salt in the surroundings, it is also perfect for my cultivation. From that day on, I take my place in the middle of this planet's sea and start scattering salt through the phenomena extinguishing mantra. Keying. The canvas of myriad forms and connections compresses into a single point and then expands again. With each repetition of this process, salt forms in the surroundings and spreads into the sea, making it saltier, while streaks of light gradually begin to be created. Unlike me, the other true immortals do not stop after creating the environment. They breathe wisdom into the living beings, guide them, and at times, even torment them. Thus, the living beings gradually develop intelligence to the level we recognize and begin forming communities. Hey, crystal glass being, are you not going to guide the human race? In this current world, John Myung-hoon has created humanity. He guides them, is worshipped as their god, and teaches them cultivation methods. Shouldn't you be guiding your race to lay the foundation for civilization's progress as soon as possible? Don't worry. I respond to the true immortal who comes to scold me. I'm doing something as well. Just wait a little. My results tend to appear more slowly. Well, all right. But don't just sit around making salt all day. The true immortal nods and returns to guide their race and advance their civilization. However, I do not particularly pay attention to the true immortal's words. From the moment light was infused into the canvas of myriad forms and connections, I felt Kim Yun's will and knew what I had to do. My cultivation with the phenomena extinguishing mantra through the canvas of myriad forms and connections is also a foundation that will help the progress of civilization in the future. I continue creating strands of light as I cultivate with the phenomena extinguishing mantra and the canvas of myriad forms and connections. As a result, I begin to see things within the canvas of myriad forms and connections that I had never seen before. The light. Light dwells within the characters inside the canvas of myriad forms and connections. Swaya. I gaze upon the canvas of myriad forms and connections. Amidst the endlessly unfolding mist, countless figures from my memories stand. Near their hearts, the small clusters of light that I have birthed are embedded inside. As I witness this, I feel as if souls are dwelling within the canvas of myriad forms and connections. The figures within the canvas seem to grow more vibrant and lively as the light takes root within them. Paisa. As I reach out my hand towards the Chongmun Ryong within the canvas of myriad forms and connections, he crumbles into mist. However, I widen my eyes at the sight. He crumbled. Previously, whenever I touched the figures in the canvas of myriad forms and connections, my hand would simply pass through, just like my formless sword. Since they exist in the past, it is only natural that I, existing in the present, could not touch them. The collapsed illusion of Chongmun Ryong regathers itself. I tremble as I watch. Perhaps. What if I fill all of their bodies, this canvas of myriad forms and connections that I have created, with this light that belongs solely to me? Before, I passed through them, but now, they crumble. A definite effect has arisen. Perhaps if I completely fill the canvas of myriad forms and connections with light, would I be able to perfectly recreate the single moment that exists in the past? Perhaps I will be able to relive that moment, perfectly. That thought takes root in me. At that realization, I cultivate the phenomena extinguishing mantra with even greater resolve. Gradually, the canvas of myriad forms and connections fills with more and more light, and time continues to flow quickly like a rushing river. 10,000 years. Countless cultivation sects are born into the world, and under the decree of the true immortals, they endlessly compete and strive for evolution. 20,000 years. The competition among the cultivation sects intensifies. The cultivation sects established by each race fiercely compete under the orders of the true immortals. 30,000 years. The true immortals seem to be growing anxious. Even amidst the madness of this frenzied competition, there are no signs of a new civilization emerging. 40,000 years. More and more true immortals begin to seek me out. Because I, who has been evaluated as possessing exceptional talent, enough to wield immortal arts within Liberation Peach Garden Village alongside Kim Yun, still have not done anything for civilization. However, I simply repeat the same words of, "You will understand later," to the true immortals who come to me and send them away. And then, 100,000 years have passed. The canvas of myriad forms and connections, which accumulates an additional 10% of light with every explosion, has already become filled with brilliant light before I realized it. It was faster than I expected. Creating a mass of light equivalent to 10 fixed stars was, honestly, quite easy. But I do not stop there. Even after forming 10 stars worth of light, I continue to create more. As a result, I finally managed to imbue every figure within the canvas of myriad forms and connections with a single fixed star's worth of light within their chest. Sururuk. I reach out and touch the being before me. It is the appearance of Yi from my past life. I place my hand on Ye's shoulder and gaze at the countless figures standing behind him. Now, inside the chests of the figures within the canvas of myriad forms and connections that have reached an immeasurable number, I have instilled light on the level of a fixed star in all of them. As a result, all the beings within my canvas of myriad forms and connections have gained substance. Of course, to others besides me, they still appear as mere mist mixed with rays of light. But the light within their chests remains visible to others, making my canvas of myriad forms and connections resemble a hazy nebula. And, on the day marking the 100,000th year since coming to Liberation Peach Garden Village, John Myung-hoon flies to my side. Co Eun-hyun, I have reached Great Net Immortal. Congratulations. I heard that you are cultivating the Radiance 10 Heavens to become a Heaven Upper Immortal. But why in the world have you still not become one? Hurry up and raise your realm. You have to quickly raise your realm so we can raise our chances of leaving this place. And from what I can tell, you already possess enough light to complete the cultivation of the Radiance 10 Heavens. I let out a bitter smile. For 100,000 years, I have clung to the canvas of myriad forms and connections, cultivating the phenomena extinguishing mantra. And as a result, I have come to understand. I'm sorry, John Myung-hoon. I simply cannot offer up the light that has settled within my canvas of myriad forms and connections to Mount Simru, to the Radiance Supreme Deity. Because this light is breathing life into the canvas of myriad forms and connections. I trust you, Co Eun-hyun. But isn't this taking too long? He speaks as he glares at me. 100,000 years. Why have you been clinging to that alone for so long? At least give me an explanation, Co Eun-hyun. I'm sorry, but trust me. I look up at John Myung-hoon and say, I am not simply wasting time. Just give me a few 10,000s of years, and I will be able to show the results. A few 10,000s of years. Yes, just a few 10,000s of years more. At my words, he lets out what seems to be a sigh, then turns around and flies away. Do as you please. Hong Fan has recently challenged the Sacred Vessel advancement. He seems to be cultivating as the sacred master of this stellar system. Hong Fan, as well as your subordinates Ham Jin and Uy, have all already reached the Sacred Vessel stage. They are all growing quickly, so I hope you will too. With a voice tinged with slight dissatisfaction, he offers his advice before vanishing into lightning. I understand why he is acting this way. He's getting anxious. For me, 100,000 years is no more than a few months in concept. But for John Myung-hoon, 100,000 years likely feels like several decades. During all that time, there have been no signs of a new civilization emerging, and you must have thought I am pathetically rummaging through the canvas of myriad forms and connections. Isn't that right, John Myung-hoon? But he's wrong. As I watch my canvas of myriad forms and connections become enveloped in light, I smile faintly. That's not entirely true. Watch, I will definitely show how I excellently support Kim Yun's plan. The time is drawing near. The power of the canvas of myriad forms and connections has almost reached its singularity. So, I will show you. Having reached Severing Heaven, exchanged about with Hyen Mu, and grasped a portion of triple divinity, my vision has expanded to unlike before, reaching a breadth and depth that surpasses imagination. To the point I even partially broke through the speech restriction placed upon Kim Yun, and can discern some of her intentions. Make Jean once said this. Those who wield light, like the envoys of the final age of Dharma and their candidates, possess very sensitive senses, capable of communicating even with beings like Kim Yun who cannot communicate. How it? The more I create my own light, the more I feel it. The will of Kim Yun, which blankets this entire world, can be felt faintly through the light. With the senses gained from triple divinity intertwined with the light I have created, I gradually became able to read a portion of her will. I see it. I catch a glimpse of what she wants to create. I can see what Kim Yun wants to create as the proof of civilization. At present, through the efforts of numerous true immortals, various races have been born into this world, forming civilizations and living their lives. With the prophecies and revisions of each true immortal, they are aiding these numerous races to reach new heights of civilizations. Countless true immortals tirelessly race about, dedicating themselves to fostering these races. Only I have sat still for 100,000 years, merely making salt. I have practically accomplished nothing. John Myung-hoon knows this as well, which is why he came to reprimand me with bitter words. But I was not doing nothing. I was merely waiting for the right time. No one can survive without light and salt. For living beings, light and salt are the essence of life itself. And I have simply been waiting and waiting for the day when every living being in this world consumes the salt I have created, engraving the power of my salt into their very bloodlines. The time has come. Wai Yang, the canvas of myriad forms and connections, infused with light and given substance, is now power and an immortal art with substance in itself. I command my history. Gazing at the canvas of myriad forms and connections unfolding around me, I issue my decree. Following my will, the canvas of myriad forms and connections begins to spread across the entire world. Huo. Originally, this was something I started merely for the sake of my Heaven Upper Immortal cultivation, but I realized that I will have to reach Heaven Upper Immortal in a way different from what I had originally planned. Simply offering up light is something I cannot allow. This is light that breathes life into my canvas of myriad forms and connections. I cannot simply hand over even a single ray of it to Mount Sumeru. Therefore, I decide to embrace this light and carry it forward. Oh, filling the heavens governing view, cover my history. Wuwong. The canvas of myriad forms and connections that spreads from me embeds itself into the entire world before merging with it. True immortals from all over contact me. Have you finally decided to act, crystal glass being? Your but sure is heavy. In any case, welcome. Let us evolve civilization together. Filling the heavens governing view is an immortal art based on the canvas of myriad forms and connections. Therefore, now that the canvas of myriad forms and connections has been strengthened to its peak, filling the heavens governing view has also reached its pinnacle. At this very moment, as filling the heavens governing view settles into this world, true immortals from all around scream at me in frenzy. Crystal glass being. You lunatic bastard. What are you doing? Seoeun. Hyun. Yet even as I listen to their cries, I calmly half open my eyes. From today onwards, no one will be able to cultivate immortality, Shu Shan. I feel Hong Fan, who has become the sun as the sacred master of this stellar system, looking down upon me. In this world, cultivators will also cease to exist. From now on, all attempts at immortal cultivation in this world will fail. Because I will make it so. Because you are all mistaken. Wayat. Civilization does not evolve through someone's interference. I glance up at the sky and smile faintly at the true immortals who are appalled. A world without cultivators. A world without the intervention of immortals. That is the kind of world where civilization can truly progress. In this moment, as I oppose Bong Myong and resolve to break free from them, I ironically come to understand them. The reason why Liberation Peach Garden Village forbade transcendent power beyond the 4-axis stage. The reason why we, who were once true immortals, were reduced to the level of spirits. It was all because only in a world without transcendent power can true evolution take place. This is what you wanted too, right, Kim Yun? But perhaps because Bong Myong had never experienced a world completely devoid of transcendent power, their approach was somewhat lacking. From this moment on, I look calmly at the wrathful true immortals and speak. I will recreate Earth in this world. Not a single speck of light that I have created will be given to Mount Sumeru. Instead, I will nurture this light. This light will become bright, and even brighter, until it becomes a light so brilliant that even without offering it to Mount Sumeru or the Radiant Supreme Deity, it will illuminate them on its own. If I can grow this light to such an extent, then naturally, I will have given grace to Mount Sumeru. And naturally, I will become a Heaven Upper Immortal. Believe in me, I am undoubtedly right. Because from now on, I will make it so. From that day onward, I completely block the immortal cultivation system, earning myself a reputation as a madman who obstructs evolution in the eyes of the true immortals. And thus begins the all-out offensive from countless true immortals against me. Chapter 606, Crumbling Cage 2. Karurum. Countless true immortals unleash a relentless barrage of firepower at Seoeun. John Myung-hoon, watching the scene, takes a step back and gazes down at the stellar system. You're not joining in? Shiraririk. Kim Young-hoon suddenly appears right behind John Myung-hoon in an instant and asks. But John Myung-hoon clicks his tongue. I already know what he's trying to do. There's no need for me to join them. A world without immortal cultivation. A world without transcendent power. Isn't it a world all too familiar? He's probably trying to recreate Earth. For something like that, you don't seem too pleased. John Myung-hoon nods. And for good reason. He does this every time. He furrows his brows. Back during the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder Sect incident, and even during the Cedarwood painting incident, I just let it go. At the time of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect, there was too much information we weren't supposed to know. And during the cedarwood painting incident, we were in the middle of fighting that bastard Xiao Huiol, so we couldn't risk letting information leak so easily. But this time, honestly, I don't know. With visible dissatisfaction, he gazes at Xiao Unhyun's filling the heavens governing view, which envelopes the entire stellar system and nullifies all the true immortals' prophecies and revisions into failure. Why doesn't he just explain? If he had simply asked for a few 10,000 years, or at least explained that we need to advance with a civilization without immortal cultivation, the true immortals wouldn't have been this furious. With a strangely hollow expression, he stares into the void. Sometimes, Xiao Unhyun feels very distant. Based on my predictions, he's probably... No, I shouldn't say this. In any case, he is someone who knows a lot of information. But maybe that's exactly why. He tells us to trust him, but he doesn't seem to believe in us who believe in him. He clenches his fist. This time as well. Even if he doesn't tell the other true immortals, couldn't he have at the very least given us, his fellow Enders, some kind of hint? What do you think, Young Hoon Hyungnam? That's definitely Xiao Unhyun's fault. Honestly, the guy is stubborn, self-righteous, and arrogant. Kim Young-hoon sharply criticizes Xiao Unhyun. However, but then, he looks towards something and speaks. It might not be entirely his fault. Pardon, maybe that stubbornness and self-righteousness are actually his way of struggling. What do you mean? Heeing. Behind Kim Young-hoon, a golden mass of light emerges. The mass is split into two. For the past tens of thousands of years, after attaining Brahma nature, I also obtained Narayana nature. Now, I stand in the realm of twin divinities. And having reached this point, I've started to read not just the hearts of humans, sentient beings, and organic life, but also the consciousness of the world itself. Xiao Unhyun's attitude is clearly wrong, but do you know why I've never once criticized him for it? Why? Because only after reading the consciousness of Kim Yun, Xiao Unhyun, and certain other consciousnesses did I begin to grasp the reason. Kim Young-hoon shifts his eyes slightly, staring into a point in the darkness of space. This is something. That guy should explain himself. TSDS. The area where Kim Young-hoon's gaze lands. Light distorts, and a familiar black-haired young man reveals himself. Candidate of Radiance Hall's envoy of the final age of Dharma. It's the great net immortal Make Jean. Incredible. You notice my concealment. Is that the true martial great emperor's technique? Strictly speaking, martial arts aren't exclusively hers. Is that so? I wouldn't know much about that. In any case, your insight and senses are remarkable. That's right. Right now, Xiao Unhyun is under the strong influence of someone. Someone's influence. It's when countless true immortals rain down bombardments on Xiao Unhyun. Jiung. A cosmic storm sweeps in, striking against the barrier of filling the heavens governing view that Xiao Unhyun created. It is as if this entire space is trying to expel Xiao Unhyun. John Myung-hoon's eyes widen as he watches this. Kim Yun? Wait, isn't he doing this with Kim Yun's agreement? Even Kim Yun is adding to the assault. John Myung-hoon turns to Make Jean, feeling something off. Just who exactly is influencing Xiao Unhyun, and why aren't you attacking him? At first, I intended to attack him as well, but then I sensed a familiar presence. Right now, I'm holding back because I'm not exactly sure what's going on. Make Jean smiles as if lost for words, and looks toward the stellar system where Xiao Unhyun is under siege. His filling the heavens governing view shrouding the area flickers with countless masses of light, resembling a nebula. Xiao Unhyun is currently possessed by light. He is under the influence of light, and resisting that influence is taking up so much of his focus that he's lost the ability to explain anything to you. What? John Myung-hoon stares at Xiao Unhyun in disbelief. What kind of insane nonsense is that? That guy is possessed by light. Don't you know what he said to us 10,000 years ago when he was cultivating by compressing the canvas of myriad forms and connections? He narrows his eyes. He said he was creating his own light. On top of that, he already achieved the Radiance 10 heavens and reached Earth Upper Immortal long ago. Why would someone who already passed the Radiance 10 heavens and said they will walk that realm again be possessed by light again? Not to mention, the cultivation method he's practicing right now should be a light that is completely different from the normal light. Make Jean laughs as if finding it incredulous. If it were the ordinary Radiance 10 heavens, you'd be right. There's no reason the Supreme Deity would care about a mere upper immortal. And for someone who has become an immortal beast to be affected by the Radiance 10 heavens would be disgraceful. But you see, that guy has now committed sacrilege against the Supreme Deity. What? Do you think it's even possible to create one's own light? The Radiance Supreme Deity is the rightful owner of all light across the three heavens' great thousand worlds and of all phenomena. And yet, some mere upper immortal Even if he learned a bit from the Great Mountain Supreme Deity's mantra, thinks he can create his own light. He snickers, as if that's even remotely possible. What that guy is doing right now is stealing light. He's siphoning light from the origin essence of radiance and making it his own. John Myung-hoon's eyes widen in shock at Make Jin's words. What kind of? No. Then why didn't you stop Seo Eun-hyun? If you're from Radiance Hall, shouldn't you have stopped him more than anyone else? Don't be ridiculous. What you're saying is no different from claiming that some street urchin could break into the Emperor's treasury, chisel out a fragment of the Imperial Jade Seal, and steal it away. His expression turns serious as he continues. No matter how much a mere upper immortal throws a crazy tantrum, it is impossible to influence the origin essence of light, even a little. That's why I thought it was just a joke. But now I understand. That guy has actually succeeded in stealing light. John Myung-hoon flinches in shock at those words, while Kim Young-hoon lets out a silent sigh and looks towards Seo Eun-hyun. Inside the hazy canvas of myriad forms and connections, countless lights shine. If that's the case, is Seo Eun-hyun's current self-righteousness a punishment from the owner of light as the price of stealing light? Ha! As if that could be the case. If the owner of light were truly enraged, the Radiance 8 immortals would have already descended upon this place. For there will oversees the entirety of the three heavens, great thousand worlds. They know of all things. The fact that it hasn't happened means that they are not angry. If an emperor does not grow furious even when his imperial seal is snatched away by a street child, what do you think the reason could be? Upon hearing Make Jin's next words, Kim Young-hoon's face hardens, and John Myung-hoon realizes why even Kim Yun is attacking Seo Eun-hyun. There are only two possibilities. Either Seo Eun-hyun stealing a portion of light was their will from the very beginning, or the Radiance 8 immortals, the warehouse keepers who must safeguard the origin essence of light, have completely lost their minds and just dumbly stood there watching as Seo Eun-hyun tore away their light. With an unconcerned expression, Make Jin crosses his arms and watches as Seo Eun-hyun and the stellar system endure an all-out assault. Hong Fan, synchronized with the fixed star of the stellar system, warmly illuminates the planet where Seo Eun-hyun stands, while the canvas of myriad forms and connections and the light within it cast their glow from above. A faint silver-white light emanates from within the canvas of myriad forms and connections. Of course, the Radiance 8 immortals can never be infected by madness unless they remove their masks. Therefore, this is essentially the will of the Radiance Supreme Deity. Make Jin laughs with a face full of hope. The Supreme Deity has not abandoned me. Ha. At that moment, John Myung-hoon finally notices the faint voice transmissions emanating from Make Jin, reaching the true immortals of Radiance Hall within the Flying Immortal Alliance. One by one, the Radiance Hall true immortals, having received some kind of message from Make Jin, begin to halt their attacks. As the members of Radiance Hall stop their assault, the other true immortals, sensing something suspicious, also gradually cease their attacks. John Myung-hoon sees this scene and speaks to Kim Young-hoon. Hyungnim, then, should we? Are you saying that at least we should attack Seo Eun-hyun? Isn't that the right move? I wonder. However, Kim Young-hoon only crosses his arms with an ambiguous expression. Make Jin bursts into laughter and spreads his arms wide. Ha. It seems that you all, in the end, seek the grace of the Radiance Supreme Deity. If I manage to escape from here, I will go through the procedures to register you all as true immortals friendly to Radiance Hall. If any of you wish to join Radiance Hall, I'll even write you a recommendation. Hyungnim, isn't Kim Yun still continuing the assault? Kim Young-hoon remains silent. John Myung-hoon looks at him in confusion. Something seems off. Even though all the other true immortals have stopped their attacks, only Kim Yun continues to strike. And yet, why is Kim Young-hoon just standing still? However, Kim Young-hoon does not answer John Myung-hoon's question. He simply gazes down with deep and contemplative eyes at the stellar system bathed in a silver-white light. Having attained twin divinities and his vision of intent and heart essence evolved to the peak, Kim Young-hoon can clearly see it. Swaya. It is a will, like the sea foam of waves. That will, undoubtedly transmitted from a distant place, seems fragile like sea foam, as if it could collapse at any moment. Yet, that fragile will alone is enough to change Seo Eun-hyun's attitude. That will soaks deep into Seo Eun-hyun's canvas of myriad forms and connections, seeping into him. In Kim Young-hoon's eyes, it appears almost as an illusion of a woman in a silver-white dragon robe embracing Seo Eun-hyun. You must be seeing this too, Kim Yun. That's why you are the only one still attacking Seo Eun-hyun. Kim Young-hoon glances at Make Jin and the true immortals of Radiance Hall, who seem pleased. Make Jin firmly believes this is the divine will of the Radiance Supreme Deity, that the Radiance 8 immortals would not go mad and do such a crazy thing. But to Kim Young-hoon, the original owner of the light Seo Eun-hyun claimed as his own. In other words, that powerful true immortal who appears to be the original owner of the faint, silver-white light is undeniably. That true immortal doesn't look sane at all. Matt, the illusion of the woman tightly embracing the stellar system where Seo Eun-hyun resides, looks like that of a young child endlessly craving attention. Kim Young-hoon, wary that Jin might notice and scheme something, does not transmit his will to John Myung-hoon or send a heart message. That guy is someone who even managed to read Kim Yun's will. That so-called envoy of the final age of Dharma candidate is an unexpectedly dangerous person. For now, I should tread carefully. Seo Eun-hyun is currently in a tug-of-war. Kim Young-hoon is certain of it. It is not just a tug-of-war with the owner of that silver-white light. Kim Young-hoon reads even the wills of the imperial kings subtly pervading this space. The will of the existence known as the Liberation Supreme Deity Bong Myong, and the will of the Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deity Du Gon, whose terminal I once severed along with John Myong. The Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deity, the Liberation Supreme Deity, the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord, and Seo Eun-hyun. All of their wills are entangled within that stellar system. Seo Eun-hyun is locked in a tug-of-war with them all. Kim Young-hoon looks down at the scene for a moment before stepping out of the stellar system. Follow me, John Myong-hoon. I will explain in a way you can understand. We must follow the will of this so-called Radiance Supreme Deity. Pardon? All right for now. Just explain what you mean. Avoiding Jin's sight, Kim Young-hoon takes John Myong-hoon out of the stellar system and beyond the fragment world controlled by Kim Yun. Their destination is deep within Liberation Peach Garden Village, ruled by the law of the Liberation Supreme Deity Bong Myong. The moment Kim Young-hoon steps into Liberation Peach Garden Village, he thrusts a golden saber towards John Myong-hoon. Young-nim. Just as John Myong-hoon is taken aback, Kim Young-hoon suddenly slashes through him. This is... John Myong-hoon's eyes open wide. The moment Kim Young-hoon's saber grazed his body, for some reason, he became partially free from the laws governing Liberation Peach Garden Village. TSTSTSTSTSTST. In a flash, the environment shifts. The surrounding environment shifts in an instant, and John Myong-hoon feels as though everything in Liberation Peach Garden Village has turned two-dimensional. The world has turned into a painting. In this world, only two figures retain their human form, Kim Young-hoon and John Myong-hoon. Behind Kim Young-hoon, two faint lights are illuminating him. Ever since I obtained twin divinities, I had a feeling something like this would be possible. What I just cut wasn't simply the law that was restricting you. Chijijik. A snake made of dim light falls to the ground at John Myong-hoon's feet and rides before dissipating into smoke. It seems to be a spell for surveillance that make Jin attached to you. It's not an immortal art, but a surveillance spell formed using the power of this Liberation Peach Garden Village. That guy may be acting as if he's cooperating with us, but he's a sly one. Sheathing his saber, he continues. In any case, since Jin's surveillance is now useless, I'll explain from here on what state Seo Eun-hyun is in and how we need to help him. Step. A woman is walking across a two-dimensional painting. She is clad a silver-white dragon robe and wears a silver-white myeongwan. Shwikak. She slices through the surface of the painting as she advances, constantly whispering into something in her hands. Wee-yi. From her shadow, silver-white strands of light faintly seep out and flow towards somewhere. She is slowly walking towards that place. But at that moment, flinch. She halts in place and her body twitches. Then, she turns towards the opposite direction from where the strands of light are flowing. A fierce gleam bursts forth from her eyes beneath the silver-white mask. I heard it. She clenches her bandage-wrapped hands and trembles. I heard Seo Eun-hyun's name. Psych. And the moment she hears that sound and tries to move toward its source, the will of the world strongly presses down on her. At the same time, the drawings that had been quietly sliced apart by her until now suddenly cling to her all at once, attacking her. Yet she only lets out a wild laugh and steps towards the origin that spoke Seo Eun-hyun's name. I see, Bong Myong. You trapped me here and distorted the path to block where I was going. But it's over. I definitely heard it. Seo Eun-hyun's name. Shwikagak. She slices through the world itself and begins to dash towards the source where Seo Eun-hyun's name was called. Wait for me. Seo Eun-hyun. She. The fifth seat of the Radiance 8 Immortals. The mad sword spear Heavenly Lord caresses the white vestige in her grasp as she soars towards the origin of the voice. I will definitely absorb you. I will absorb you. Take back the light I gave you, and through you as a medium, reclaim even the light that was stolen by Great Mountain and Salt Sea. Before she knew it, amidst the relentless yearning towards Seo Eun-hyun, the sword spear Heavenly Lord's goal had shifted slightly from what it was at the beginning. She no longer simply seeks to unravel the bizarre Ender authority that Seo Eun-hyun cast upon her. Now, she harbors the desire to reclaim all the lost light through Seo Eun-hyun. And to do so, she must become one with him. To merge completely with Seo Eun-hyun, the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord hurriedly traverses the world of paintings. The assault of the true immortals has stopped. All that remains is the will of Kim Yeon. It looks like John Myung-hoon and Kim Young-hoon went off to talk. I glance at Kim Yeon's will, tapping against my filling the heavens governing view, and the silver-white lights that have become my light. I know it too, because as I continue to fill the canvas of myriad forms and connections that is essentially myself with light, my goal gradually becomes more extreme. However, as I cultivate the phenomena extinguishing mantra through the canvas of myriad forms and connections, I begin to understand the wills of the great beings surrounding me. The Liberation Supreme Deity and the Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deity seek to use me as a chess piece. The Liberation Supreme Deity seeks to complete Kim Yeon. The Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deity seeks to further elevate John Myung-hoon. And the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord is desperately yearning for me. Between the objectives of the Liberation Supreme Deity and the Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deity, and the desire of the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord, there is only one way for us to survive. That is for me to sacrifice myself. I intend to sacrifice myself in order to achieve the evolution of civilization and to satisfy those who seek to use me as their chess piece. That way, my comrades, Kim Yeon, will be safe. This is not simply suicide. I have obtained my own light. Of course, whether this light truly belongs to me or whether someone has temporarily permitted me to possess it for some unknown purpose, I do not know. Perhaps, even though I feel as if I created it, this light is actually something I stole from the origin essence of radiance. But one thing is certain. The Heavenly Venerable of the Underworld permitted the light that Master stole from Radiance Hall to settle in the deepest depths of the Underworld. And that light seems to be something the Underworld cherishes greatly. Therefore, the Underworld values the light stolen from Radiance Hall. So if I offer this light I have obtained to the Underworld, even if I stake my life and sacrifice myself, this life will not end merely as suicide. Use me as much as you like. Liberation Supreme Deity. Heavenly Punishment Supreme Deity. But as the price, you will have to look after my comrades. If not, I will definitely make you understand the true terror of a regressor. Thus, I calmly observe a world without immortal cultivation that is about to advance. Beyond the stellar system. Make Jean and the true immortals of the Flying Immortal Alliance simultaneously let out exclamations. Having received a hint by Make Jean that this is the workings of the Radiance Supreme Deity, they remain still and watch the miracle beginning to unfold in this world. Clank, 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 clank. The time within the world begins to distort. The time within the stellar system where Seo Eun-hyun resides, starting from the fixed star in the center, gradually begins to accelerate from the inside out. The world inside filling the heavens governing view starts speeding up. Kugagugum. The entirety of Mount Sumeru trembles. Numerous imperial kings simultaneously glare at the earth boundary heavenly domain that is enveloped by the winged garments of the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord. The Radiance 8 immortals roar in fury. Bong Myong. What are you doing? With the Administrator of Time, the Heavenly Venerable of Time, now gone, the Liberation Supreme Deity Bong Myong is recklessly manipulating the time inside the earth boundary heavenly domain. The history of the world is about to be changed. Chapter 607, Crumbling Cage 3. Time is distorted. I immediately sense that something is wrong. Time outside feels slow, while time inside seems to be passing quickly. I see. Bong Myong. I realize that Bong Myong's will is making time flow faster here. 1,000 years in this place would amount to nothing more than a fleeting moment outside. I can feel it. To twist time itself, Bong Myong has suffered an immense loss. Pasts. A vision flashes before my eyes. It is a silver-white light. Within that light, a 7-colored bird is being swallowed by a massive sword light. The bird in the vision turns back and looks at me. I shall melt away. Bong Myong, barely managing to keep just one wing outside the sword light, begins to dissolve within it, turning into a world. Until the moment my prophecy is fulfilled, I shall melt my personality, my life, into this world. I can feel their resolve to risk their own life. Even if I must dissolve everything, I shall make it happen. Within this oppressed fate, I shall ensure that civilization evolves. That shall be the key to true liberation. And so, they melt away, into the silver-white radiance, into that cold and piercing sword light. They become the prophecy itself, a supreme deity's prophecy, enacted at the cost of their own body, personality, and life. With that prophecy set in motion, unless civilization advances, Bong Myong can never be revived. However, if the prophecy is ever fulfilled, Bong Myong will unconditionally resurrect through its power. I must ultimately revive Bong Myong, the very being who sealed us away, with my own hands. A powerless chess piece caught in the grand game of the supreme deities. That is all our fate amounts to in the end. Even after becoming a true immortal, all I can do is claim the bare minimum of my rights. Being manipulated remains the same. I let out a brief bitter smile, but quickly composed myself. I can't do anything about fate. Even Bong Myong, who rose to the rank of supreme deity, struggles about to break free from fate's oppression. No one in this Sumeru Three Heavens great thousand worlds can escape fate. But just because I cannot flee from fate does not mean I cannot decide my own life. Whether to accept it quietly and die under fate's rule, or to struggle madly against it, leaving behind my mark before my death. That much, I can choose for myself. I silently observe the world where the immortal cultivation system has vanished. The world remains unchanged, stuck at a medieval level. Even after 100 years, even after 200 years, nothing changes. They keep repeating the same actions, replaying the same history. Whenever a natural disaster occurs, they are easily swept away, driven to the brink of extinction. There is no sign of civilization progressing. 300 years pass. Just then, Geo, Tukwang. I sense an immense explosion erupting in the outside world. Only a fleeting moment should have passed outside. What in the world is happening? That, I understand. I will do as you say, Hyungnim. Good. Right now, all the forces of Radiance Hall within the Flying Immortal Alliance are merely observing Seo Eun-hyun, just as Make Jean instructed. But those who were never originally part of Radiance Hall are merely watching the situation. The moment they find an opportunity, they will throw themselves headfirst at Seo Eun-hyun's filling the heavens governing view once more. John Myong-hoon looks down at his hand. My responsibility is heavy. There is no one here without a heavy burden. You will create the opportunity. Yes, understood. Then, go head in. The deeper you go, the more space-time seems to be distorted. Inside, it might have already been several days. Centuries might have passed inside Seo Eun-hyun's filling the heavens governing view. That's. At that moment, as John Myong-hoon and Kim Young-hoon are talking, Shurik, splitting through dimensions, a silver-white light appears between them. It is a woman holding a sword, her entire body wrapped in bandages, wearing a silver myingguan and a silver dragon robe. Thank you. At the woman's appearance, Kim Young-hoon and John Myong-hoon freeze in place. Thanks to you, I was able to pinpoint the location. You are Enders, the silver-white woman. She, the transformation form of the sword spear Heavenly Lord, glances at Kim Young-hoon and John Myong-hoon. Lead the way, Enders. Where is Seo Eun-hyun now? Kim Young-hoon quickly exchanges glances with John Myong-hoon. Kururum. Without hesitation, John Myong-hoon bursts forward at lightning speed towards Kim Yun's fragment world. Towards him, the sword spear Heavenly Lord extends a hand. A useless effort. From her hand, a silver-white light extends, forming a single sword light that nearly chases after John Myong-hoon's heels. Just then, Jioyeoyeong, a golden saber radiance intercepts the silver-white sword light. It is Kim Young-hoon. My apologies, but it seems I must be the immortal's opponent. Judging by the color of your fate, you must be this era's golden body Heavenly King designate. You've learned quite a few tricks, but step aside. It's pointless. Puckwhack. Her words prove true. Even though the sword light has not touched him, the divine blood formed of lightning spiritual energy spills from John Myong-hoon's body as he flees into the distance. I am the fifth seat of the Radiance Eight Immortals, the sword spear Heavenly Lord. I am the owner of light and the executor of fate. The sword spear Heavenly Lord gazes at Kim Young-hoon with cold, stern eyes. Mere tricks will never defy the fate standing at the peak of the Sumeru Three Heavens, great thousand worlds. Look, you may have blocked my sword, but you failed to stop the prophecy, and thus, the wound has been inflicted all the same. I will say it again. Step aside. You will be torn apart and perish. I certainly couldn't stop the prophecy. Kim Young-hoon grins and takes his stance. But I did block the immortal's sword. And no matter what, Myong-hoon managed to escape inside. He feels an overwhelming pressure. The pressure emanating from the sword spear Heavenly Lord is unlike anything he felt from the true immortals, cultivators, or true persons he had faced before. It feels as though he is standing before true martial great emperor Hien-mu herself. His opponent is a sharp sword, a silver-white sword that cuts and shreds all phenomena, the incarnation of war and violence itself. Perhaps, that sword may even surpass Seo Eun-hyun, an unrivaled, peerless swordsman. For martial artists, being able to cross blades is enough. What more could we possibly need? The sword spear Heavenly Lord looks at Kim Young-hoon for a moment before raising the sword in her hand. I have pitied you Enders all this time, but for at least this moment, I envy you. A weapon you can wield as your heart desires. How does it feel in your hands? I will show you now. Good. Tat it. Pot. A strange space that exists between the two-dimensional and the three-dimensional, where countless landscape paintings are drawn. Within the ancient landscape, a silver-white swordsman and a golden saber wielder collide. Gold and silver intertwine, unleashing a storm of swords and sabers. Geo. Tukwong. A massive explosion erupts, and years pass. I simply continue to unfold, filling the heavens' governing view, worrying about the outside world. Just then, Kururum. I spring to my feet. What the? The mist of filling the heavens' governing view has been pierced. Though the mist fills back in an instant, in that fleeting moment, someone slips inside. It is a true immortal. Immortal art. Sun shooting. Tukwang. I hastily fire an arrow that extinguishes light, but the true immortal merely brushes off the attack, barely phased. What? It's not a true immortal from Radiance Hall. Step back at once. Do you truly wish to witness the failure of civilization's evolution? I grit my teeth and shout. As there's now a little leeway in time, I can explain. I can explain in detail why I acted so arbitrarily. So at least hear my explanation. But the response I receive from the true immortal is unexpected. I already know. I understand why you did this. I even understand your intention. What? However, I just want to tell you that our way is not wrong either. With those words, the true immortal explodes on the spot. Wait. Quagwagwagwang. An Earth upper immortal, who had been on the verge of becoming a great net immortal, explodes and perishes. At the same time, their life shatters into pieces and fragments of their existence fall towards the earth I am recreating. They melt into my immortal art world, where the immortal cultivation system has been blocked. I widen my eyes at the sight. It is the same as Bong Myong. Just as Bong Myong melted themselves, offering their life as the price to prophesize the evolution of civilization. This true immortal has done the same, melting into the world and using their life as the price for revision. Living beings of this world, remember. Kugugugugu. The world has been revised. Remember that once in this world, there existed myths and immortal cultivation. That is it. A mere revision that instills a yearning for myth and immortal cultivation, confirming that they once existed. It seems trivial, but an inexplicable ominous feeling creeps over me. That explosion. It bothers me so much for some reason. It feels as though something has begun from that explosion. I have the feeling that the true immortal's suicidal attack is not an end, but the beginning. Chwereric. I unfold, filling the heavens' governing view with even greater force, yet the unease in the corner of my heart does not fade. I was confident I could block the true immortal's attacks. No matter how much they launched an all-out assault, I was sure I could hold them back. But even I have no way to stop these acts where they wager their very lives. The counterattack of the true immortals has begun. Quang. Another true immortal breaches my filling the heavens' governing view. I prophesize, with my personality and entire life as the offering. Kugugugugu. As the true immortal falls towards the recreated earth, where living beings reside like a falling star, their rank diminishes. That true immortal, along with their prophecy, becomes a mere fate. Having lost their personality and becoming fate, they settle into the body of a newborn child. I watch over the child. The child is born as the prince of a kingdom. I observe the prince's fate. He has the fate of a prophet who enlightens countless beings and provides a starting point to escape the system of my filling the heavens' governing view. To block that fate, I disguise myself as a seer and approach the king of the nation to deliver a proclamation. The prince, if left alone, will one day become a great prophet, bestowing teachings upon the masses instead of ruling from the throne. However, if he firmly holds onto the throne, he will become a ruler who governs the world. Upon hearing this, the king, desiring to preserve his royal lineage, locks the prince away in a garden like a gilded cage and introduces him to countless pleasures. He allows the prince to know nothing but countless beauties, mountain and sea delicacies, dazzling jewels, and all things beautiful. Watching the prince, I feel relieved. At this rate, the prince seems to be safely deviating from the fate set by the true immortal. But one day, the prince, by accident, catches a glimpse beyond the garden the king has built. The moment I realize this, I know I have lost. The world outside the garden's walls. Having seen a world writhing with all kinds of hunger and suffering, the prince is thrown into turmoil and steps out of the garden created by the king. Breaking free from the cage with his own hands, he begins to wander the world in search of truth. Before long, as he travels in pursuit of truth, more and more people start to follow him. I make every effort to bring him back to the palace, but he remains steadfast, undeterred by countless temptations and failures. And those who revere him begin to call him a prophet. In the end, he overcomes all my interference and succeeds in becoming a prophet. It's you. At the final moment of his life, The prophet, recognizing my presence that is spread across the world, smiles faintly. Yes, it's me. Looking at him, I begin introducing myself despite no one compelling me to do so. I sought to advance the civilization of this world. To do so, I temporarily severed the system of immortal cultivation that once flowed through this land. For the world to progress, transcendental power is unnecessary. That is why I stood in your way, who tried to restore such powers. Only after finishing my explanation do I realize that I had made excuses in front of this prophet out of shame. But the prophet, as if unconcerned, hears my murmurs clearly despite the hundreds of millions of li between us, and responds. Did I seem like I was trying to restore transcendental power? Was that not the case? The power I restored is not something like that. What? I simply wandered in search of not power, but truth. I merely wished to reveal the truth to this world, to the people of this world, to spread that truth wide and bring benefit to many. From a distant planet hundreds of millions of li away, I gaze at the prophet and ask, what is the truth you speak of? The prophet smiles. It is the smile of one at the end of their life. The heart that people naturally pass on to one another. That is all. Some may call it compassion. Others may call it love. And yet others may call it hope. But one thing is certain. This heart, without a doubt, is a heart that brings warmth to the people. That is all there is to it. After speaking these words, the prophet closes his eyes. Watching him, I am overwhelmed by an indescribable emotion. And then, thousands of years pass. Quang. The true immortals outside continue to stake their lives, breaking through my filling the heavens governing view. They revise the history of my filling the heavens governing view, or with their prophecies and immortal arts, create prophets. I see a true immortal melt and dwell as fate within a child born in a manger. That child, too, is bestowed the fate to become a great prophet. As the child grows, he comes to understand many things. Even without being taught, he discerns the traces of past prophets in the actions of people and comprehends their true intent. The child grows, gathers people, takes them as disciples, and leads them. He spreads the truths he has realized, the will of the prophets he has come to understand, to countless others. The king of the land where the child walks finds him displeasing and orders his capture. In the end, the child is condemned for spreading heretical wisdom and is nailed upside down to a pillar to die. Yet even as he dies, he harbors no resentment, only embracing everyone. In his dying state, he perceives my will that fills the world and looks towards me. You are the king of this world. Not exactly, but close enough. He looks at me and smiles warmly. O king of the world, why do you suffer so? Because there is too much resting on my shoulders. Is that so? How truly pitiful. The moment I hear those words, I laugh. Well, isn't the pitiful one you, who is nailed to a pillar and dying? Your life ends here. There is no next chance. You have no certainty that another life awaits you. And yet, why are you so at peace? Hurrah, O king who bears the world. All my life, I have taught my disciples who follow me that what belongs to a prophet should be returned to the prophet, and what belongs to a king should be returned to the king. Everything received must be returned. My disciples have always returned to you the grace they received from you. Then, O king who bears the world, what is it that causes you suffering? And why do you not return its source? My eyes widen. He is nothing more than a mere mortal being, a fragile creature that could never reach a genuine, undying existence that is me. And yet, this being has pierced straight through my heart, the source of my suffering. It is, ultimately, because there were those who loved me. Throughout my life, I have received the grace of so many, the love of so many. Had I never received any love, had this world treated me with only cold indifference, I would have become a devil king who devours the world and bring it suffering. But because that is not the case, I now struggle to repay this world with the greatest grace I can offer. To give grace to life is good, but do not struggle to give away, even that which you must keep for yourself. Return only what must be returned to life. Excess in all things is never good, O king. With those final words, the prophet nailed to the pillar closes his eyes. I ponder his words for a long time. Am I trying to express the grace I received from the world by putting in excessive effort to the point of suffering too much? The words that speak of returning suffering, that excess is never good, in the end, are telling me not to overexert myself in repaying grace. I continue to mull over those words. Time continues to flow. Outside, something seems to be happening. The explosions echoing from beyond gradually grow stronger, and the frequency of true immortals entering increases. The true immortals, one by one, melt themselves into the world, embedding themselves as fate or energy into lowly humans in order to change the world. They do not limit themselves to prophets alone. Sometimes they embed into mathematicians, sometimes architects, sometimes kings, and at times, even tyrants or warlords. They all greatly change the world. Even though the system of immortal cultivation is severed, they are restoring some kind of power to this world. And little by little, I begin to understand what that power is. The heart that people naturally pass on to another. I remember the words of the first prophet. A heart passed from one person to another. A heart endlessly carried forward. A heart that gradually dispels the darkness of the world. The name of that heart is love. I see now. They continue to spread that heart throughout the world, bringing change. Writing, language, and culture are slowly changing. For now, it remains at a medieval level. But the continuous changes brought by the true immortals are subtly altering the world. As the sacrifices of the true immortals accumulate, and accumulate, the world gradually begins to change its form. At the same time, I slowly begin to see beyond filling the heavens governing view. The more I perceive the hearts spreading across this world, the more transparent filling the heavens governing view becomes. Outside filling the heavens governing view, time moves slowly. Countless true immortals are gathered around John Myung-hoon, discussing something. And Kim Yun's will is showing them something that is occurring far beyond them. A clash of silver and gold. That is, it is the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord. The Sword Spear Heavenly Lord and Kim Young-hoon are colliding. Even in the slowed-down world outside, their movements are terrifyingly swift as they exchange dozens of blows. And through Kim Yun's power, all of them can see the intent flowing around the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord. That is, the silver-white light of the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord is cloaked in a link-pink intent. And that intent is directed toward the center of this world. Towards me. Love. The pinnacle of Radiance Hall, the ruler who dominates the world. Everyone is now witnessing that the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord possesses love. Only now do I understand why the true immortals have been throwing themselves into this place. The true immortals of Radiance Hall still seem deeply devoted to the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord, though they appear confused. But the true immortals unaffiliated with Radiance Hall are beyond mere confusion. They are in utter shock, as if everything they had believed in until now has been shattered. For them, it is incomprehensible that the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord, who should rule the world with absolute fairness and justice, could have a heart for an individual like me. And those who share that sentiment are gathered around John Myung-hoon. John Myung-hoon is saying something to them. So that's it, John Myung-hoon. I realize what kind of sermon he is delivering to the true immortals. He has taken out Jin Sohei's hand and gently strokes it as he preaches about the heart. Kim Young-hoon is blocking the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord. Kim Yun is reflecting the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord's heart. John Myung-hoon is preaching about the heart. As I watch them illuminate and teach the true immortals about the heart, for some reason, the words of Tae Yeol John, that is, the words of the heavenly venerable of the underworld, come to mind. Their words that the 7 brilliances kings are bodhisattvas who teach and preach the heart to the sentient beings of the world. For some reason, I feel as if I am looking at a scene from a Tenghua, as if 3 bodhisattvas are delivering a sermon to sentient beings. Watching the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord, the pinnacle of the world, engulfed in love and attempting to enter this place. It seems they are coming to some realization that the power of the heart, with love at its forefront, might just be the most essential power for attaining liberation in this world. But the number of true immortals receiving John Myung-hoon's sermon is gradually decreasing. This is because while those listening to John Myung-hoon's teachings continue to hurl themselves into my filling the heavens governing view, reducing their numbers, those from Radiance Hall are being well managed by Meg Jean. And finally, at some point, only one true immortal remains, receiving John Myung-hoon's teachings. John Myung-hoon. I recognize who that true immortal is. It is Golden Shaking Bird, who has regained her senses at some point within Kim Yun's fragment world. Golden Shaking Bird, who is the only one left behind after countless true immortals casted themselves away, is saying something to John Myung-hoon. I cannot tell what they are discussing, but Golden Shaking Bird is shedding tears. Then, she rises from her seat and begins to approach my filling the heavens governing view. John Myung-hoon. Startled at the sight, I shout, "What are you doing?" Golden Shaking Bird is the great desolate path. At the same time, she is one of John Myung-hoon's devoted followers. How could he send someone like Golden Shaking Bird into this world without hesitation? A world where neither success nor failure is certain. This could very well be Golden Shaking Bird's end. Golden Shaking Bird stakes her life and breaks through filling the heavens governing view. She gradually melts into this world. I sense the great desolate path within her being released into the world. Along with it, the will of Bong Myong, that had been within the great desolate path, further thickens the power of the heart that fills this world. Golden Shaking Bird settles within a newborn infant. This time, it is not merely a matter of dissolving her body, but a reincarnation. She has chosen to abandon all her memories and authority to be born as the child of a mortal being. If her prophecy proves true, She may be reborn as a true immortal, but it is a reckless gamble. Golden shaking bird. Watching her, I am taken aback. But as I watch her, I realize something. I see. I feel like I understand what she heard from John Myung-hoon. She came to know that John Myung-hoon isn't Yang Soo-jin. Born into this world as a baby girl, Golden shaking bird grows while learning its language and culture. As she gradually accumulates knowledge, she desires to create something. I can tell that what she creates will be the decisive proof of civilization's evolution. The power of the heart filling the interior of this filling the heavens governing view has already reached its critical point. No matter what she creates, she will undoubtedly produce something decisive for the evolution of civilization. John Myung-hoon. I glance at her once before turning my gaze back to the sky. Beyond that sky, the battle between gold and silver finally seems to be reaching its conclusion. Young-hoon Hyungnim. A silver-white sword light cleaves through the golden saber radiance. Kim Young-hoon is split in half and sent flying. And in an instant, the silver-white light enters the fragment world. John Myung-hoon, Make-jin, and countless true immortals face the silver-white light. At the same time, Kim Yun's entire fragment world is split apart. Even the will of Kim Yun that had seized control of the entire world fades away. Kim Yun, John Myung-hoon is instantly shattered into hundreds of fragments. Too fast for him to even react. Make-jin and the true immortals of Radiance Hall head towards the silver-white light. It looks as if they are trying to ask something. And then, Twerrak. The silver-white sword light flashes, cutting down Make-jin and the true immortals alike. Make-jin's immortal body is flung towards this place. Puak. I glance back once at Golden shaking bird before soaring towards Make-jin. Tot. I catch hold of Make-jin, whose upper body has been severed, and emerge from filling the heavens governing view, lifting my gaze to the being staring down at me with indifference. A god of silver and white, wrapped in bandages and wearing a silver mask. As Kim Yun's world crumbles, reality distorts, and the laws of this world begin to bind me. Gradually, I revert to being a feeble spirit, capable of nothing but wielding the power of soap. I have come to meet you, Seo Eun-hyun. The silver-white god. The sword spear heavenly lord speaks to me. You were engaging in something meaningless. You must have been trying to escape from Bong Myong's world. I will release you. Come forth and bow before me. If you do so, this immortal, I shall. Yang Ji-hwang. The sword spear heavenly lord falls silent. Then, she looks down at me. Our eyes meet. What did you just say? I said Yang Ji-hwang. Ji-hwang, you. Do you even know what that means? It's your original name, isn't it? Ha ha. Yang Ji-hwang begins to laugh. Ha ha. Ah ha ha. Gradually, the world begins to transform into an antique landscape painting. It takes on a form that appears to exist somewhere between two-dimensional and three-dimensional space. In this bizarre world, the only thing maintaining its original form is the recreated earth within my filling the heavens governing view. So that's it. I wondered what kind of magic you had cast on me. But you used the authority of an Ender to uncover my original name. That is what caused my heart to waver. Yang Ji-hwang mutters as if relieved. Well, it doesn't matter. Originally, I intended to take you with me, use you as this immortal's plaything, and uncover the secrets of your authority. But now that I understand the principle behind the strange influence you have on my heart, there is no need for that. I will simply kill you here. For killing the existence that knows my name is the simplest solution. A cold light flickers in her eyes. Die here and spit out the light you stole from this immortal's domain. You are crying, Ji-hwang. What? You are crying because you have to kill me. What are you saying? Yang Ji-hwang's voice trembles as if shaken. Crying? What nonsense you speak of. This immortal has never shed a single tear. It is the same right now. My eyes. Someone once told me that emotions are nothing more than the trembling of the lungs. That since the lungs correspond to metal, emotions themselves are of the metal attribute. You're speaking nonsense. You're right. I think it's nonsense as well. It was just that guy's misunderstanding. But if you think about it differently, the lungs are actually the most suitable organ for expressing emotions, so it's not strange that someone might be mistaken about it. The vibrations inside the lungs have a significant influence in conveying emotion. So, Yang Ji-hwang, the fact that your voice is trembling, the fact that your lungs are trembling, means your heart is trembling too. I look at the tip of her sword. If the lungs are the most specialized organ for expressing the heart, then the same must apply for metal. Isn't your sword, forged of iron, trembling as well? Sword spear heavenly lord, Yang Ji-hwang.